stays busy. Here are the umpires. Frank Pulley behind the plate. And his daughter is celebrating a birthday, Candace. So happy birthday to Candace. And the other umpires, Rutherford, Barnes, and crew chief Harry Wendelstedt. The switch hitter, Vince Coleman, will lead it off. The batting average 244, and that's about the norm for him. But look where the third baseman is stationed. Lenny Harris, as Coleman stands in. He says, go ahead and bunt. I got you covered. And here's the first pitch of the day. That's ball one. This plate umpire, Pulley, is a rather liberal umpire with regard to the pitchers. He'll give them some of those borderline pitches. The batter wanted to look at the baseball, and they do. Coleman, Jeffries, and Magadan will bat here in the first, and Pulley zings it out of play. Such as the bursitis allowed. He zinged it out. Ball one, the count to Coleman. 22 stolen bases, leads the major leagues. And that's ball two. The third base coach is Mike Cubbage. And across the way, Tom Spencer, coaching at first for New York. 2 balls, no strikes to count. Sometimes pitchers, try as they may, just can't get the ball over to a fellow like Coleman.
Look for Coleman to take here.
That's ball 3. There is Tom Spencer, the first base coach. Now it's Cubbage and Spencer, and they hope they have some traffic today. And we'll get some immediate excitement if Belcher throws ball 4.
It's known that Vince Coleman bothers pitchers when he's at first base, but there are a lot of pitchers who are bothered when he's at the plate, too.
There's a strike.
They don't want to put him on first to give him a chance to steal. 22 stolen bases this year, leads the major leagues. 571 for his career.
He has a way to go before he catches Ricky Henderson. Here's the 3-1 pitch. And just out of the strike zone, and I'll be darned, there's the walk.
You often see pitchers walking pitchers who aren't good hitters. You'll see them not walk a batter, and the pitcher comes up and he throws 4 straight balls to him. And the reason is they're so conscious of putting that pitcher on. And the same thing, the same theory applies to Vince Coleman. You're so conscious of putting him on, you try too hard to throw strikes and end up walking him.
Would you believe this, as we watch Eddie Murray hold against Coleman? Would you believe this, that Greg Jeffries at the plate hitting .250 is the leading hitter in the New York lineup this afternoon? Coleman next at .244. The batting averages are horrid, but their pitching's been great. Coleman started and then came back, and ball 1 at a borderline pitch.
Sometimes staying at first base and faking stealing second base is as effective as the stolen base itself. You end up getting behind the hitter. Look at Social looking over to the dugout, coming up out of the crouch, taking that low pitch away from Belcher.
Yeah, that might have bothered the umpire when Social came hopping up on that bluff by Coleman. Coleman has been caught 6 times while leading the major leagues with 22. It's a little damp where he is running, you can see. Ball 1 to count to Jeffries. That's ball 2, and Belcher, who walked Coleman, throwing only 1 strike, is behind in the count to Jeffries. Coleman being in front of Jeffries in the batting order, we're going to have a visitor to the mound, should help Jeffries.
Was that a suggestion that dampening the first base line was intentional by Tommy Lasorda?
We've seen it before. There's Ron Peronowski, the pitching coach, out talking to Tim Belcher.
When Maury Wills was such a base-stealing threat, the most valuable player back in 1962, playing the Giants at Candlestick, famous incident with Alvin Dark, the manager of the Giants, watering down first base.
That's putting it lightly, watering it down.
Quagmire is more appropriate.
They used to do this down in Atlanta where Coleman was running the bases. Looked like the Okefenokee swamps down there. Now Jeffries skies one into left center. That ball is going to be caught on a diving effort. What a great play by Cal Daniels. There's an upset. Daniels is not noted at all for his defensive ability, and he has had a pulled groin, but he made a wonderful play.
Injured several days ago on a foul ball and 2 bad arthritic knees, and Cal Daniels sparkling catch of the line drive hit by Jeffries.
They show a replay of it up here on the video board, and the fans enjoy it. We have a great angle from up here, and it certainly looked as though it was going to fall in, didn't it, Tim?
Yes, it did.
Now Magadan is up. Look at his batting average, .225, with Coleman at first and 1 out. Rather short lead by Coleman. Vince told me he was hale and hearty, no aches or pains, and running at full speed. Folks still arriving here, and we'll have more than 50,000 when they're all settled into Dodger Stadium.
After a sellout last night.
They can pack them in. Coleman's back to first as Belcher stepped off. Outfield straight away. Now Butler goes a bit to the opposite field for Magadan, who can spray the ball around. He can handle the bat when he's hot. He's not hot right now. And hitting room through the right side. Going away in a good play by Socha, and there's ball 2. They have to play honest against Magadan in the outfield, Tim.
Magadan led the Mets in opposite field base hits last year, and more than probably any left-handed hitter in the National League. With a runner on first base, Magadan can't use that hole to his benefit. You see Murray holding Coleman on, Samuel cheating at second base, and Magadan trying to pull a little bit more in a situation like this to utilize that hole on the right.
See what comes of all this. Coleman out at first, 1 out, and the pitch goes low again. That's ball 2. Now Socha wants to talk to Belcher.
8 of Belcher's first 10 pitches have been balls. Belcher pitching against the Mets and the losing pitcher 11 days ago when the Dodgers first played the Mets at Shea Stadium in New York. Belcher giving up 3 unearned runs in the first inning.
And he's 1-3 against the Mets for his career. He had a wry grin on his face after the visit by Socha. Now Coleman might be more intent on running. Very short lead, not going. And that's ball 3. It's almost as if they don't want to take the hitting hole away from Magadan the way Coleman is staying.
I don't think this is a good running situation, even if Belcher throws a strike to Magadan. Reason is, until Belcher shows he can throw strikes, there's no sense in running.
Yeah, why give him a break? There's a strike, 3-1. Now it's a little different. Third base coach. Coleman undoubtedly has the green light. Go whenever he wishes. Not going, and there's a foul, 3-2. Sometimes Coleman will do that, Tim. I know you've seen a lot of him. I've seen a great deal of him. Sometimes he'll get on base and just indicate that he is not going. He won't even look as though he's going to go.
Well, there's a lot of talk about the stolen base, and of course Vince Coleman, in particular Ricky Henderson. As I said, you know, sometimes it's better not to go because the pitcher is thinking you're going to be running. Depends on the hitters that are coming up behind you.
Now Coleman is running, and there's a hit through the hole, and Coleman will go on to third without a play. And Magadan was able to pull the ball in his first and third with 1 out.
Yeah, the first time he tries to run, he opens up a hole.
Even more so because Samuel broke in a hurry. They expected Magadan to hit the ball to left.
Right fielder, QB Brooks.
Had Jose Offerman, the shortstop, been covering, this is a double play. But with Juan Samuel covering, it's a single in first and third with 1 out. So you see Samuel in your picture there, Samuel covering on the play, and instead of a double play and out of the inning, the Mets have runners at first and third and 1 out.
And the RBI opportunity for Hubie Brooks, who has driven in 13 runs this year. You can get him on the double play. He has average speed, but he has hit 5 home runs and wants at least a fly ball. And he dunks one into right. And the visitors are going to take the lead. Chris Gwynn played it as well as he could, but it's first and third, still 1 out, and the Mets lead. And the Mets have some fans here.
Hubie Brooks has some fans here, too. Hubie, a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers last year, traded for Bobby Ojeda and picks up the first RBI of the ball game. Good base running by Magadan, who went almost to second base And then when the ball was bobbled by Gwynn, Magadan walked to third. No error on the play.
And Howard Johnson is up. Magadan over at third. And on first base, Hubie Brooks, who has stolen one base. Johnson has driven in 24 runs, tops on the New York team. They're off and running, and this all started with that walk to Coleman. Now it's ball one to the next batter, and Mike Hartley starts to warm up very quickly for the Dodgers. A walk and 2 hits in the inning. Fine defensive play by Cal Daniels for the only out of the inning. Nonetheless, a double play would get the Dodgers out of it. There's a fly ball. The runner probably will not try to score. Here's a throw. He's going to try against Butler. Gotcha, and the inning's over. Butler to Socha is very good on the tag, and Magadan out at the plate. And out of all that, the Mets get only one. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 left. 1-0 New York.
I know the Mets are trying to be more aggressive on the bases this year because Strawberry's not with them, but I'm a little surprised that Magadan tries to score against Brett Butler. Watch the right knee of Mike Socha, the best in the business at blocking the plate. And Socha strikes again, and the Butler did it.
No way to get in there. Socha made the light tag for the putout. So after all that, 1 run for New York, and Butler will lead it off. And Socha, who made the tag. Here's the batting order for the Los Angeles Dodgers. As Butler stands in there to lead it off, he is playing center field. Juan Samuel's been an effective second-place hitter. Chris Gwynn playing in place of Strawberry. He's in right with Eddie Murray at first base. Cal Daniels in left. Lenny Harris at third. Mike Socha behind the plate. Jose Offerman is the shortstop. And Belcher, who got the double play to get out of the inning, doing the pitching. And here's Ron Darling. Has a record of 2-2 and 8-4 lifetime against Los Angeles.
Center fielder, Brett Butler.
Butler just made that good throw.
Dodgers a very difficult lineup for right-handed pitchers. 4 of their regulars are left-handed batters. Butler, Strawberry, Cal Daniels, and Mike Socha, and Eddie Murray a better hitter from the left side. So this is a tough lineup for right-handed pitchers.
Last night, the left-hander, Viola, beat them 4-2. You better have some left-handers available when you come here. First pitch a ball, and now ball 2. And Butler will let you walk him. He has stolen 7 bases. Goes the bunt, takes ball 3 on a moving pitch from Darling, 3-0. And the third base coach is Joe Amalfitano. Ben Hines is across the way at first. Now they've changed it. It's Cressy coaching over there at first base. 3-1 goes the count. Oh, we got all the coaches in there. Amalfitano, Hines, Cressy, and Bill Russell. And the bunt, out. Butler tried to bunt his way on despite the count of 3-1. Talking to the umpire as he walks back, says, was that a strike?
Number 10.
He pops out to the catcher, Charlie O'Brien.
Samuel.
Defensively for the Mets, Kevin McReynolds in left field and Vince Coleman in center field. Coleman, a left fielder for so many years with the Cardinals. Hubie Brooks in right field. Greg Jeffries, a third baseman. Howard Johnson at short. Tommy Herr at second. Dave Magadan at first. And Charlie O'Brien behind the plate.
Juan Samuel has popped 5 home runs this year. Has a little different batting approach this season. Ended up hitting .242 a year ago. Quite a decline for him. In on him. 1-1. Darling has an earned run average of 4.09. And no complete games. This is his 7th start. He missed his mark that time. 2-1. Samuel with the Phils, briefly with the Mets. then out here to Los Angeles. 3-1. Now, he used to be a wild swinger, but he's making these pitchers work.
Sammy with 28 home runs and 100 RBIs only 4 years ago with Philadelphia.
Ball 4. He took a walk. So Darling with a 1-run lead issues a pass, and Samuel is a threat to test the throwing arm of Charlie O'Brien.
That's what Tommy Lasorda has been preaching to Juan Samuel. Be patient at the plate. Try not to go out of the strike zone and out of your zone to hit the ball. Tommy's been very, very helpful to Samuel, the Strawberry. 7 new players on the Dodgers this year, and some rather unusual glasses worn by Tommy Lasorda.
Cracker Jacks.
A toy, huh?
Samuel draws the throw. Magadan playing over there. Brisk win at the plate. And another throw. You see how Magadan holds that glove very, very loosely last night. He lost the glove on a throw, and it whacked him on the hand. There's Bud Harrelson, the Mets skipper. Win, a last-moment replacement for Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry hurt his shoulder a bit running into the wall out here the other day. He did play last night. In fact, threw a runner out. He's not in the dugout. Perhaps we'll get a picture of him as the afternoon goes along. But just before game time, it was indicated he wouldn't play. Win hits at the left, and it's going foul. That makes it 1-1.
A lot of times when players are not used to starting and they're given a late call because of a scratch of a regular player, they have better days than if they had a chance to sleep on it. Brisk win inserted in the lineup only 15 minutes before game time because Strawberry's left shoulder was acting up.
He ain't there. We're looking for Darryl. We'll see him. 1 ball, 1 strike. Samuel, the runner, not going. That's foul and almost picked off from Alfantano. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There is Joe.
Number 12, if that looks unusual to you, he has changed numbers with Gary Carter.
Yeah, he gave Carter number 8. Now he's wearing Eddie Stanky's old number. He played for Stanky, didn't he? Or did you miss
Played
it?
when Eddie was the minor league farm director with the Cardinals.
Pitch out, nothing doing. 2-2. And there's Gary Carter, who's in the lineup last night, had a couple of hits, and he's helping the Dodgers. A lot of people thought he was washed up a couple of years ago. 2-2. Samuel likely to go. Samuel, for a while, was asked to play center field, and that bothered him. Now he's back at his normal second base position where he broke in with Philadelphia. He's not going, and Wynn strikes out. What got him, Tim?
That was a splitter. Darling throwing all hard stuff, and a lot of pitchers will do that with a runner at first base and that hole open and the chance of a hitter possibly pulling the ball. Get to 2 strikes with the hard stuff and finish him off with a split finger fastball. That's what Darling did.
So it's up to Eddie Murray with the Dodgers trailing 1-0 in the first. Murray hitting well as he did last year, batting .304 with 5 home runs. A year ago he batted .330, contended for the batting crown, and had 26 homers. Switch hitter.
.384 lifetime homers for Murray. And has he been an Iron Man? He's missed only 68 games in the last 15 years.
That's because he doesn't wear himself out giving interviews. Little fly ball into left center. Samuel makes the turn. Will go to third unmolested. First and third, 2 out.
Interviews could take away from your playing time, huh?
Now the Dodger fans have something to cheer about. Samuel at third.
Split finger fastball on the outside part and a nice piece of hitting. You saw Murray release the top hand and pokes it into left center field.
Looks like he's playing with the White Sox.
Yeah, a Walt Rinniak disciple.
But still, the Dodgers need something, and they'll ask for that something from Cal Daniels. Daniels is only hitting .223, and he is a good hitter. Batted .298 last season. Left-handed batter all the way. First and third, 2 out. Swings hard, doesn't he? Strike one. Formerly the property of the Cincinnati Reds. He has opposite field power, but they're playing him just about straight away and a little bit to pull, in fact.
You have to respect his power the other way. 15 opposite field home runs last year.
And that's strike 2.
Think about that trade that helped 3 teams, Lenny Harris and Cal Daniels, coming to the Dodgers for Tim Leary and Mariano Duncan. And then Tim Leary went and signed with the New York Yankees, and Hal Morris came from the Yankees to the Reds, and Morris is leading the National League in hitting.
All vital players, and they're all doing very well. 0-2 the count. First and third, 2 out. 1-0 Mets, first inning. And ball 1. Charlie O'Brien behind the plate. He has helped the Mets defensively.
Excellent defensive catcher, strong throwing arm. Matter of fact, the Mets lead the National League in runners caught stealing, 21 of 44, about a 48%. That's extraordinary in this day and age.
Magadan holding against Murray with Samuel across the way at third and 2 out. Daniels hits it. Pitcher has to cover. And they got him. The Dodgers lead 2, and they trail 1-0. The Mets scored in the first and a walk to Coleman. Hits by Magadan and Hubie Brooks, who drove in the run. Tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Time here on CBS. CBS Sports Sunday presents the Tour de Pont. Atle Kavalsvold of Norway is the leader at the moment. And at 3:30 Eastern, flag-to-flag coverage of the Winston NASCAR's All-Star Race. That's tomorrow on CBS Sports. And here today, baseball from Dodger Stadium, second inning. Mets leading 1-0, sending up Kevin McReynolds. I mentioned earlier that these Mets batting averages are atrocious, and here's one of them. Kevin McReynolds hitting .223. They are next to last in the National League in hitting, but only a game and a half behind Pittsburgh. Again, pointing out the value of pitching, pitching, pitching.
Mets leading the National League in earned run average. They have given up the fewest home runs as a pitching staff.
Ball 1, ball 2 to McReynolds from Belcher.
The Dodgers, on the other hand, second in pitching and second in hitting.
The Mets are only a game and a half out, despite the fact their defense has been quite porous, hurting the pitching even more.
Reminds you of that Dodger team back in 1988. A Dodger team that won the World Series against Oakland, beating the Mets in the National League Championship Series. They had a very, very poor defensive team. But they had one leader in Kirk Gibson, that miracle home run, and Orel Hershiser.
3-0 and a strike. Then McReynolds, Herr, and then Charlie O'Brien for New York. McReynolds, 2 home runs. Three and 2. Tommy Herr was in the lineup, out of the lineup, back in the lineup. He has back spasms, and he is playing and will bat next. 3 and 2 to the leadoff man in the second. Out of play. And the count stays. Reynolds last year hit 24 home runs. There's his skipper, Buddy Harrelson. Got to have sunglasses here in Los Angeles, even if you're at home alone. And another foul. It's still 3 and 2.
Buddy Harrelson, the 12th manager for the New York Mets since their inception back in 1962. And it is remarkable when you think about it. The Dodgers, over the last 37 years, have had 2 managers.
37 years.
Walter Alston for 23 years and Tommy Lasorda, his 15th.
That missed the corner and a leadoff walk. I wonder what Pat O'Brien thinks of leadoff walks.
Tell you what I think of this catch at the stadium in New York. Seattle, the Yankees, bottom of the 4th. Watch this. Matt Noakes goes long. Would have been a 2-run homer. Ken Griffey Jr. makes the catch at over the wall. Mariners lead 3-0 in the 6th. The Yankees are scoreless now in 29 innings. Now back to the ballgame.
You're right about that, Pat. 29 innings without scoring a run for the New York Yankees. Here, a leadoff walk. You saw Seattle on top, and they're atop the American League West. Here's Tom Herr. He's only hitting .228. Clever hitter with men on base. Switch hitter, ball 1. Belcher is having a tough time of it.
Normally, this would be a good hit-and-run situation, but when a pitcher isn't throwing strikes, you don't like to put the hitter at the disadvantage of having him swing at a ball. So I doubt that Buddy will send the runner unless the count evens up to 1-1 or 2-1, something like that.
Yeah, they're going to make Belcher start throwing some strikes. Steps off and then throws over. Reynolds kind of a sneaky base stealer. He gets more than you think he would get. He has but 1. Last year he stole 9. You see that hole through the right side. Will Herr take a shot at it? Strike 1. 1-1. They have that hole open on the right side, but they play Herr to hit to the opposite field. He's hit 1 home run this year. You see the rest of the infield alignment and the outfielders playing Herr to go to left. There's a big gap out there in right center. Reynolds is not going. And that one missed. 2-1.
A lot of times, if you're a hitter, you can check the outfield defense and get an idea about how a team is trying to pitch you. Fastballs away thrown from Belcher. Now, you're not going to throw Herr many off-speed pitches with the center fielder over toward left field. Fastballs away, and Belcher's thrown 3 in a row.
And he is trying to hit his stride out there. They had a bullpen pitcher getting ready in the 1st inning. There goes the runner, slipped a little bit, but a stolen base nonetheless. As Socha bobbled the ball on a stolen base for McReynolds.
Catcher, often with a runner at first base, you have the swing with which to cope. The left-handed hitter, you can't see the runner running. You've got a lot to do in a very short time, and often you'll see that bobble, and that's what happened then.
Now Herr will be intent on pulling the ball. He's very good at it. 2-2 the count.
Makes it tougher, though, with 2 strikes on it.
He did pull it, moves the runner. And a good play by Murray to the pitcher for the out. Runner at 3rd, 1 out.
Outstanding at bat by Tommy Herr, huh?
Very good.
That's what the Mets have to do if they're going to replace the power that they lost in Darryl Strawberry. They no longer live and die with the 3-run homer. Buddy Harrelson sends the runners often. They become a running team with not a lot of speed, but have been very successful up to this time. They hit and run a lot, and this, incidentally, a squeeze situation.
O'Brien has driven in only 3 runs. He has a half-dozen hits, batting .222. That's what Tim was talking about at the start of the game, the very fact that the Mets have to move runners, steal bases, hit and run, and squeeze. Maybe it'll happen. You don't ordinarily see it this early in a game, but it could with McReynolds at 3rd, 1 out. Ball 1 and the infield in. Belcher has been behind 7 of the 8 batters he has faced today. 7 of the 8 have been ahead of the count. Belcher works off the full windup. A good many pitchers work from the stretch with that runner at 3rd. And ball 2. The pitcher will be up next. And he's not really a bad hitter. such as pitchers go. There's Mike Cubbage giving the signs. And Ron Darling is waiting to bat next. We're keeping a wary eye on McReynolds at third. He's there with one out. And O'Brien took a strike, 2-1.
Getting a sign in a squeeze situation is very different. The hitter gets the sign from the third base coach, Mike Cubbage, and then he relays the sign to Cubbage to tell him that he has it. And then Cubbage has a word sign with the runner at third. The one thing you don't want to do if you're the runner at third is break too soon. If you do, the pitcher sees that, pitches out, and you're dead.
Nothing going on, and another strike, 2-2. Now the chances for the squeeze play dwindle. 2-2 the count. Belcher, 37 innings, 24 strikeouts, and he'd like one here. And he chased a bad ball and left the runner there. There are 2 out.
It has been a struggle in the last 3 starts for Tim Belcher, and this game no exception. The high fastball after falling once again behind in the count. He came back to get Charlie O'Brien.
Belcher, like a lot of other pitchers with a good fastball, likes to throw that pitch up there just a touch out of the strike zone. And it paid off for him. Let's see if Darling can get the runner home for his own cause. He's 2 out of 11 with a bat. Now the infielders drop back. Strike 1.
The most effective fastball that Belcher has is the high riding fastball. And that's what Charlie O'Brien goes down on.
Now he's chewing up Ron Darling.
Belcher, a guy that is easier to hit when his pitches are down in the strike zone. Not the breaking ball, but the fastball.
This inning started with a walk and a stolen base. The runner was second and nobody out. But the Mets leave him there. Now the Mets have left 2, but they still lead 1-0. Tim McCarver has a scoop for you.
Well, Fred Wilpon, who is one of the owners of the New York Mets, reportedly last night said that the New York Mets were up for sale. Well, that has been denied vehemently. We just got something across the wire, and Fred Wilpon has denied that the Mets are for sale. The Mets are owned by Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon, and that report denied.
Well, that's a disappointment to me. I guess I'll have to go for an expansion team now.
Pocket money, right?
Leading off is Lenny Harris. 1 ball, 1 strike with Ron Darling on the hill, and the Mets leading 1-0 in the second. This guy's a pretty good hitter. And a half swing over to Jeffries. He throws him out.
Well, everybody knows that Los Angeles is a trendy town with a lot of trendy restaurants, but what about a trendy baseball team? Check this cartoon yesterday in the Seattle paper. For years you've ignored me, the guy says to his wife or friend. And she says, don't you understand, dear boy, you've become trendy. And have the Seattle Mariners ever become trendy? They are leading the American League West by a half a game over Oakland.
It's not his wife. The wife never calls her husband dear boy. How about that Seattle team? A record of 21-14, winning today. They won 5 in a row, 9 out of 10, and they lead Oakland by a half game. Nice going up there. Here's Socia, ball 1, strike 1. Socia hitting .267. He's a very consistent player, defensively and offensively. 1 home run. 1-0 Mets in the second. 2-1.
Caught more games than any other Dodger catcher. Today is his 1,202nd game. John Roseboro caught 19 of those games with the Brooklyn Dodgers. So Socia is ahead as the Los Angeles Dodger catcher, but will pass Roseboro in 3 weeks or so.
On the corner, Socia didn't think so. He talks to Mr. Pulley. Mr. Socia, Mr. Pulley. Count 2-2. Makes a big difference, doesn't it? 3-1, 2-2. 3-1, you can sit on something. Here you have to protect the plate with 1 out. And he just spoil that one. I told you that Pulley was liberal with that strike zone. He likes to keep the games moving along, and he'll give the pitchers what they deserve. He's wearing sunglasses. You do that just for us, Frank? Tommy's got his. There, I've got mine. Tim, you don't have mine.
No, I don't.
Now to play. 2-2 with one out.
Have them available there.
Buddy's got his. Everybody. Fortunately, we have the sun to go with it here in Los Angeles. It is terrific. Right around 70 degrees. Everybody's wearing sunglasses. Outfielders, infielders, fans. Base is empty. 3-2 to Socia. Has a good batting eye. That should work.
Last year, Socia only struck out 31 times. That tied his career high. He's always up there in fewest strikeouts. A contact hitter with not a lot of power the other way.
And he grounds it to Tommy Hurd. There are two gone. Mr. Darling got in on him a little bit from the sound of the bat on the ball. 2 out.
Batting eighth, number 30, shortstop.
Ron Darling working on, oh, by the way, Darling loves to pitch here in Los Angeles. He likes the conditions all the time. He likes his pitching mound in particular, Tim.
If you talk to any National League pitcher, they will tell you that the best mound off of which to throw a baseball is Dodger Stadium. Look at the slope of that mound. The mound lowered from 15 inches to 10 inches after the 1968 season. And the reason for that, pitchers dominated during 1968. Bob Gibson with a 1.12 ERA. Now, the Dodgers mound was lowered, but the slope remains the same. That's what pitchers love for their breaking ball, to keep the ball down. They love that slope of the pitcher's mound.
And they can drive right at the hitters. Two quick strikes on Offerman. Jose Offerman, the shortstop. Ball one. Alfredo Griffin on the disabled list. And a foot injury, so this youngster gets a chance to play. He's always done well in the minor leagues. And he's their shortstop of the future. He hits one to the other shortstop. And close put out as Howard Johnson displayed that good throwing arm. We played 2 innings, 1-0 New York. Yesterday, we asked the Dodger pitcher, Tim Belcher, if he's distracted by Vince Coleman on base.
Coleman drives me crazy as soon as he steps in a batter's box, before he even gets on first base. I've had a lot of trouble throwing him strikes. There are certain hitters that are up there that take a lot of pitches. And sometimes you know that, and I think subconsciously or whatever, you do exactly what they want you to do. You don't throw them strikes.
And lo and behold, he walked Coleman in the first, and Coleman has scored this game's only run and now leads off in the third. 1-0 Mets. Outfield of the opposite field as Coleman bats. We showed you Lenny Harris, the first at bat. He's playing way in at third. They try to take the bunt away from Vince Coleman. Ball one. There's Harris. There is Vince Coleman hitting .244. No home runs, 8 runs batted in. Swung right through that one, 1-1.
Mets would love to see Vince Coleman bunt at least once a game to improve his on-base percentage. He's walked 22 times this year. Strikes out an awful lot. Over 100 2 years ago.
And he does bunt. And Belcher bare hands it and safe as Murray dropped the ball. I don't know what the call would have been. It was very, very close. Belcher did all he could with a bare hand grab, and the ball must have sailed on Murray or something.
We mentioned earlier that Eddie Murray, with 3 gold gloves, you rarely see him drop a ball. He could have lost this ball with this bright day. A lot of white shirts up there. You remember Game 4 of the '63 series when Joe Pepitone lost the ball in the shirts? I think Coleman was going to be safe anyway.
That's what I thought. That was my impression. The umpire gave no indication.
Should be a hit.
It is a hit. It's been ruled a hit. Now Coleman, who's stolen 22, will Drive Belcher a little more crazy. There he goes. Stumbles, comes back, ball one. He was going.
Yeah, he wasn't faking this time. He was going. See Vince Coleman picking that right foot up. Most good base stealers pivot on that right foot, but Vince Coleman can make up for any mistakes in technique. He's got great speed, obviously.
That's what the water does that we showed you in the first inning. So Coleman does a little landscaping. Jeffries is the batter. Ball one to him, and Belcher continues to be behind almost every hitter. Jeffries lined out to left his first time. There he goes. Up he comes back. Ball two.
But Scioscia's reaction once again, coming up out of there. As a catcher, you try to move low into the throwing position instead of standing up and then going out. Because by standing up and then going out, you take that pitch, or you could take that pitch away from your pitcher. That pitch was high anyway, though.
All these guys who can run, they love it. They love to display their stuff. There's ball three, and a bunt, and all that distraction, and a 3-0 count on Jeffries. Scioscia wants Belcher to throw a strike and get back into this contest. 3-1.
No other department in baseball where arrogance is more connected than with speed. There's no arrogance connection between power and the power hitter. But there is always arrogance involved with the base runner and the base stealer.
There goes Coleman on 3-1. Fair ball, one out. That's all. Coleman advances. And Murray is fortunate that he was holding against the runner. That took a hit away from Jeffries. Look at that shoulder slump.
Number 10, Dave.
Oh, the runner's at second with one out. Jeffries thought he had a hit.
Greg Jeffries on the disabled list until Monday night. He came off that list in San Diego. He hit that ball fairly well, but that's an out.
He said, what's a first baseman doing there? Well, he was holding against the runner. Now Coleman is a threat to steal third. Magadan is up, and he singled his first time. In the dirt, gets away. Coleman stays. And ball one. Again, Belcher behind. A little clip that we had of Belcher talking about Coleman, saying he drives him crazy, continues to be valid here. Runner at second, one out in the third. Mets leading 1-0. Magadan has driven in 12 runs. Shortstop is able to keep Vince pretty close at second. He held up, and that's ball two.
Well, now think about this. We talked about earlier about Magadan's ability to put the ball in play to the opposite field. He led the Mets in that department last year, 37 opposite field hits. So really you wonder why Offerman is holding Coleman close here, because that vacates that hold out there. It's a very difficult play for a young shortstop.
They might not mind too much if they walk Magadan. Foul ball, 2-1. They have the right-handed batter coming up next, and first base open. And a souvenir for a fan here at Dodger Stadium. There's Hubie Brooks. He will bat next. He's a tough cookie with men on base, though. That's got a run in the first, and a walk to Coleman, singles by Magadan and Brooks. Coleman's at second, one out. Strike to Magadan, 2-2. Tim, you told me about Magadan. He's a little in between all the time, taking good ones and swinging a bad one.
He and Tommy Herr are tied for the National League lead in walks. You see both with 25, but as far as Dave Magadan is concerned, it's made him too passive at the plate. That's probably the worst trait and the worst thing a hitter can go through, is to be in between, not knowing whether to swing or not.
And he hits it to third. The runner stays. Now Coleman goes to third. No throw. He's at third with 2 outs. He's looking around for the ball.
not as important to go to third base with 2 outs, but nonetheless a good base running play by Vince Coleman. Dave Magadan caught in between. The split finger fastball, an easy play for Lenny Harris, and Eddie Murray not even chancing a throw to third. Watch Coleman. It looks like he's going back to third or back to second, and he takes off for third and makes it without a play.
Boy, can he run. Gee, he's a picture. And then he was looking around for the ball. He thought maybe the ball had gotten loose over there at third base. Now he might be eyeballing Belcher, who works off the full windup with the runner at third. There are 2 out, and the batter's Hubie Brooks. Foul ball, strike 1. See Coleman talking to the third base coach down there. I wonder if he's trying to measure this pitcher, Tim Belcher.
He's tried to steal home once this year. He was thrown out by the pitcher. If I were Belcher, I'd work from the stretch right here.
Just forget about that runner then. Here's time called by the batter.
When you work from the stretch, you obviously keep that runner close at third. You're looking right at him. And Belcher is not the type of guy who depends on his curveball, where he has to work from the windup.
Up the corner, strike 2. By the way, I said time called by the batter. I know that it's the umpire who calls time. The batter requests time, but that's the usual way to say it. 0-2. Now Belcher will be less concerned with Coleman. Ball keeps Brooks up there. The Mets have scored 1, left 2. They have 3 hits, and they've been given 2 walks. In all 3 innings, they've had their leadoff man on base. And they've had a runner at third base in every inning, but they've scored 1. 0-2 to Hubie. Good 2-strike hitter.
Tries to go to right field with 2 strikes on him.
Chopper to short. Offerman with a long throw. Got him. Good arm. Another man left in New York. They've stranded 3. We'll return to Dodger Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. On CBS, the Dodgers visit Cincinnati, or you will see Cleveland playing at Milwaukee. Here's a pop fly into right center and caught by the right fielder Hubie Brooks. Let's go to Pat O'Brien in New York and see what he has.
All right, Jack, back at the stadium. Ken Griffey Jr. having a big day. You saw the catch earlier. This time with his bat. A ground rule double. He scores Henry Cotto. And the Yankees now have not scored in 31 innings. The Mariners lead 4-0 in the 8th. Back to the ballpark with Jack and Tim.
Ken Griffey is 3 for 4 with a double, 2 singles, and 2 RBIs. Ken Griffey Jr. Belcher swung at the first one, and that's 5 in a row retired by Ron Darling. Here is Brett Butler. Tried to bunt his way on and popped to the catcher. 0 for 1. Strike.
What a weird year for the Seattle Mariners. They lose their first 6 games. They win their next 8. A couple of games later, they lose 5 and start a streak of losing 5 in a row. And now they're trying to win 6 in a row. Half a game ahead of the A's going into today's action.
7 games over 500. Tommy Herrick gets Butler for the second out. 6 in a row by Darling.
The only other time that the Mariners have been 7 games above 500 back in 1982. And with the exception of the first couple of days of the season, the Mariners have never been in first place.
We're at Dodger Stadium here. Scoreboard clock says 1 o'clock local time. And the scoreboard itself says 1-0 Mets. About hit the Dodgers 3-1. 2 quick outs here in the third, and Juan Samuel at the plate. Look at the width of his feet. What a wide stance that is. Ball 1. Last year when he was doing poorly, he was swinging at everything. Pitches in the dirt and over his head and way outside. Now he's been taking more, and there's ball 2. Soon these pitchers will realize that they better throw some strikes to Samuel, become becomes a more dangerous hitter now that he's ahead on the count, and he has hit 5 home runs. That's ball 3. It's a different Samuel we're looking at, Tim.
That's a Samuel of old. We talked about it earlier. Coming from the Phillies to the Mets for Len Dykstra and Roger McDowell, and then coming to L.A. for Mike Marshall and Alejandro Pena. Good players. And that's an indication of the talent that the Dodgers thought Samuel still had. He's still a young man. And that the Mets thought Samuel had, trading Dykstra and McDowell.
3-1 with 2 out. To the shortstop, bad hop. Can't do much about that. Johnson got in front of it, and the ball came up on him. They'll probably give him an error, but it'll be a tough error. Error 6.
That is the 11th error of the season made by Howard Johnson. He leads the major leagues in errors. But this, a very tough error. That ball did come up. I agree with you, Jack. That ball could have been a hit, but usually is an error.
I don't know who could have fielded that one. Johnson didn't. 11 errors, and Samuel, a base running threat. As Chris Gwynn stands in, he struck out his first time up.
I'd look for Samuel to run early in the count this time. He was very pensive the first time he was on first.
I bet the Gwynn brothers will talk tonight. Tony will tell Gwynn or Chris what he saw that was wrong, if anything. Nothing doing at first base, 2 out. So the Dodgers still have but 1 hit. This fellow played on the U.S. Olympic baseball team a few years ago. And ball 1 to him.
In this stadium, the finals, the Team USA playing against the Japanese team. And they won the silver medal that year. Baseball was not an Olympic sport, and it will be come 1992 in Barcelona.
Chris Gwynn played at San Diego State. Runner at first, 2 out. Short lead by Samuel. Not going. High and away, ball 2. Well, you have Gwynn up there now, and a better hitter, Eddie Murray on deck, so Chris had better get ready to swing at something here. He wants to know if the runner's going, so he looked down at the mouth of the tunnel. You don't see that 2-0 pitch out very often, do you, Tim?
Not often. Not to run the count to 3-0. You better have the steal sign if you do.
There's a strike, 2-1. Now we might have the old hit and run. Although there's hitting room through the right side, and they may want to keep it there. You know, one thing about this Dodger ball club, and I think it's overlooked because of his bombacity, and that is the wonderful ability of Tommy Lasorda. And there's Eddie Murray. Tommy Lasorda to manage a club. He's good. He's as good as any. 2-1, 2-2. Ooh, says the crowd. There's Lasorda. He's very, very effective in running a club, particularly with Peranowski running that pitching staff.
Tommy telling us last night before the game that when he took over in 1977, 17 of the 25 players on the roster he had managed in the minor leagues. And this year, we mentioned, there have been 7 changes for the Dodgers. Only 18 of the 25 still with them.
Runner going, and Gwynn strikes out for the second time on that split finger delivery. 1 error, 1 left. Dodgers have left 3. They trail 1-0.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
Darryl Strawberry is available but didn't start today. Hubie Brooks has the only RBI in the game. The Mets have had the leadoff man on base in all 3 innings. There's Darryl, and they have left 3.
So Darryl out, but Brett Butler in sync in the first inning. It could have been worse. Fine throw by Butler after catching a ball hit by Howard Johnson to nail Dave Magadan, that patented Mike Scioscia block of home plate.
So that kept it 1-0, and here we are in the 4th with Howard Johnson up and a foul ball. Let's see if Belcher can get the leadoff hitter for a change. Johnson flied out into that double play in the first inning. Already has 8 home runs. Hit 23 last year.
We mentioned earlier that Joey Amalfitano had given Gary Carter his number 8, and Joey's wearing number 12 now. Well, earlier in the week, Howard Johnson tried number 44 for 2 games, Monday and Tuesday when the Mets played in San Diego.
That ball's pretty well hit and carrying to the track for Murray, and he jumps and he caught it. He was a little further away from the fence than he thought. Not Murray, Chris Gwynn, and there's the first out. The ball just kept going, and then it seemed to die out there at the track off the bat of Johnson.
Yeah, Chris didn't appear to know where the fence was. Instead of being against it, he was about 2 feet from it, and he jumps up and ends up catching the ball about shoulder high. See him feel with that right hand to see where the fence is. He thinks he's right against it and makes a rather nice play.
That's the way Strawberry was banged up the other night when he ran into that wall out in right field. Here is McReynolds. And a strike to him. He walked and stole a base his first time. He goes along at his own steady pace. Takes strike 2. Nothing seems to bother him, upset him. Tim Belcher finally gets the leadoff man in an inning. 1 out. Well, many years ago, I was arrested in Tim Belcher's hometown, Mount Gilead, Ohio.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
I rolled through a stop sign on the old 3C highway, and they were there waiting for me. Count 2 and 2. You're afraid, weren't you?
I was. I didn't know where that was leading. That's one thing we didn't go over in the production meeting.
1 and 2 to McReynolds. But that's not the only town I've been arrested. Here the well-hit ball to left. Going back is Daniels, and he has to watch it go. McReynolds hits his 3rd, and the Mets lead 2-0. McReynolds does things so effortlessly, including hitting home runs with a nice, level, easy swing.
On the heels of your arrested comment, the Mets are trying to wrest this 3-game series from the Dodgers. They've won 5 of 7 on this road trip. And Kevin McReynolds, very strong. That is a fat fastball right there, inside part. Look at the reaction of Tim Belcher.
He knew, didn't he?
Yeah, when that head goes down, that is a bad reaction. If you're in the same uniform as the pitcher, and you saw Tommy Lasorda, he knew it too.
It's a 3rd home run ball served up by Belcher, and there is McReynolds. He has hit number 3 now, and he has driven in a dozen runs. There's Hubie hopping on the bench alongside him. Strike 1 to her. Tom grounded out his first time and gets a hit to left.
Pitchers try to pitch Kevin McReynolds inside. Belcher didn't get this pitch inside enough. That's the danger of trying to pitch guys inside. When you make a mistake inside, it's usually a home run. You make a mistake away, it's a single.
So a happy Met bench as they lead 2-0. And with her on base, the batter is Charlie O'Brien. He fanned his first time. Her can steal a base. He has swiped 7. He has a bad back, which almost kept him out of the lineup today, so he might not do some extra running here. Her is piling up some years now. 12th year in the big leagues. One on, one out.
So we're Charlie O'Brien coming over from the Milwaukee Brewers last August 31st for Julio Machado and Kevin Carmody. And he still keeps in contact with the Milwaukee Brewers, with a bunch of the players on the team. Still good friends with Robin Yount, Jim Gantner, Dan Plesac.
Runner at first, one out. Her not going and outside.
So maybe we can give the Brewers greetings next week.
All right, we'll be there. There's
Yeah.
Rick Cerrone. The Mets have gotten some mileage out of him, Tim, haven't they?
Signed as a free agent for $100,000. He is making the minimum.
Well, that's a bargain these days.
Yeah.
But Charlie O'Brien's doing the catching today, and he's up at the dish. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Her at first with 1 out. He was jammed and popped it into center field for Butler. That's the 2nd out, and we'll bring up the pitcher. You saw that final earlier with Minnesota beating Detroit 4-1, and that's 8 losses in a row for Sparky Anderson's Tigers. They were right up there for a while. Now they're 2 under 500, and at the moment 5 out of first. Puckett homered, Shane Mack homered. Minnesota won their game 4-1. First final of the day. Darling gets his swings, fouls the ball, strike 1. He's had 2 hits, but fanned back in the 2nd.
Speaking of Detroit, Walt Terrell in the Detroit rotation. And Walt Terrell came with Ron Darling from Texas to the Mets back in '82 for Lee Mazzilli.
That's a strike to Darling. Strike 2. And Mazzilli was the darling of the New York Met fans for a long period of time.
Was he ever?
0-2. Belcher to Darling. Out of play. Johnson flied out. McReynolds homered. Base hit by her. They retired O'Brien on a fly ball to center. Mets have made 2 runs on 5 hits. Lead 2-0. 0-2 to Darling. He almost walked into that thing. 1-2.
Count 0-2, and Belcher coming inside to Ron Darling just to keep him from going out and trying to get that slider away.
Which he couldn't do, but it just missed. 2-2. Belcher started to walk off the hill. And the first base umpire said that Darling did not swing. Belcher asked to try again. And another foul out of play. Murray came over longingly. Well, Belcher knows that even if he gets Darling here, he'll have Coleman leading off in the 5th. He told us earlier that Coleman drives him crazy whenever he's in the batter's box. There's Vince waiting. He'd just as soon lead off the next inning, I think. He doesn't drive in many runs. 39 last year, that's all. Out of play again. Stays 2-2. Shirt sleeve crowd here at Dodger Stadium is around 70 degrees.
See Chris Gwynn cooperating with Tim Belcher in how they're trying to pitch to Darling. I don't think Darling's going to see any off-speed pitch here. The outfield swung way around toward right field.
And he got it. Now the Mets have left another. They've left 4, but they still lead it 2-0 going into the home half of the 4th inning.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Toyota, I love what you do for me. Head and Shoulders, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And by Bud Dry. Why ask why? Try Bud Dry.
And the Mets lead 2-0 going into the bottom of the 4th here. Well, it's been 50 years since Joe DiMaggio posted that record 56-game hitting streak. The streak started on May 15th of 1941. A hero to millions, young and old, but the Yankee Clipper rarely gives interviews. Monday, Joe DiMaggio will be featured and talk with our Harry Smith on CBS This Morning. Your chance to hear from Joe DiMaggio Monday on CBS This Morning. Hal Daniels leads off. And ball 1. Excuse me. Murray leading off here. He is 1 for 1. Daniels to follow, and then Harris. Murray single to the opposite field his first time. Ron Darling pitched around an error in the third, works the fourth, hits the corner, 1-1. Darling 2-2 on the year, 8-4 lifetime against the Dodgers. Outside.
An unforgettable photo last weekend of Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio embracing at Fenway Park. Ted Williams, the street outside Fenway Park, named Ted Williams Way now.
Out of play, 2-2.
What pieces of Americana, huh?
Daniels waiting on deck. He was injured earlier this week. We'll show it to you. After Eddie Murray does something here leading off in the fourth. Got him. Another strikeout, and that is number 3 for Ron Darling. Earlier this week, Cal Daniels fouled the ball and ended up being carried off the field on a stretcher. Ball hit him in the groin, and he went down.
Often, because of the proximity of outfielders to the plate, they're 250 to 300 feet away. They don't wear that protective cup, and they don't wear it when they're hitting either. And Daniels wishes he'd had that on then.
Even Tom Lasorda was out there helping to carry the stretcher. And here's a base hit to left. That's not unusual for him, though he's a left-handed batter. The second Dodger hit. Al Daniels from Warner Robins, Georgia. That's the same hometown as Danny Cox, the Philadelphia pitcher, who's working tonight, by the way, and well on his way on his comeback trip.
Philadelphia beating the Chicago Cubs last night 1-0. The longest 1-0 game in Philadelphia Philly history. Tommy Green picking up the win in relief.
A late swing by Lenny Harris.
16 innings last night.
Philly's doing a lot better than people thought they were going to do. They're 1 game under 500. Harris fouls it off. Strike 2. He grounded to third his first time. Harris is a pretty good hitter. Batted .304 last year. Dodger batter has never been able to nail down a position. Utility man at Cincinnati, same thing here. 1 on, 1 out. 1-2. Detroit's lost 8 in a row. The Twins beat them 4-1. First place Seattle. That sounds strange. Leading in their game. And Oakland bouncing back after the loss last night. Montreal ahead of the Giants. What a dismal season for San Francisco. 11 games under 500. Lenny Harris, a strikeout victim, and Daniels got back. That's 4 strikeouts for Darling. He's got that downer going, doesn't he?
The split finger fastball. It was taught to him by Al Jackson in the minor leagues. You see Daniels diving back in. Watch his throw by Charlie O'Brien behind Lenny Harris. The one reason that, as you see Daniels diving back in, he's all right. The one reason Darling couldn't throw that pitch in the minor leagues was because he has such short fingers. And usually in order to throw that split finger fastball, you have to have long fingers, or it certainly helps you when you do.
Did they get longer in the big leagues?
Nope. No, but he had to work at it. He had to work at it a lot.
Didn't come easily for him.
A lot more than some pitchers do. Some guys with longer fingers, it's a lot easier. A lot easier to throw the curveball with longer fingers. Sandy Koufax, an example of that.
What a pitcher he was in this ballpark. Doesn't come around very often. 1 ball to count to Socha. 0 for 1 in this game. And ball 2. And the runner at first, 2 out, and Darling and the Mets leading 2-0 in the fourth. stubby hand that he has. 2-0 to Socia. 3-0. With Offerman coming up next, is it conceivable, Tim, they'll turn this fellow loose here?
Oh, I would think so. Socia, more than an occasional home run. 58 through his career.
And a dozen last season. Daniels at first, 2 out. He was taking 3-1. I think he was looking for a particular pitch, but he didn't get it.
Mike Socia, 58 home runs during the season. His biggest home run, however, came in postseason play against the Mets back in 1988. Devastating.
That was a cruncher for New York. Now 3-1. Darling has walked 1, fanned 4. He puts the tying runs on base. So they're 2 on, 2 out for the Dodgers, and their number 8 hitter coming up.
Number 30, Jose Offerman.
Oh, it's Offerman at the dish. Offerman had 1 home run in the big leagues last year. And strike 1.
Ask and you shall receive. The Socia home run off Dwight Gooden in Game 4 of the 1988 League Championship Series. Boy, it has devastated Mets fans from coast to coast ever since. That would have put the Mets up 3-1 as it was. They were tied at 2, and the Dodgers won it in 7, and then they went on to beat the Oakland Athletics in 5 games. That dramatic Kirk Gibson home run that you called, Jack.
Oh, yes. So that home run by Socia is what propelled the Dodgers into the series. Now a quick 2-strike count on Offerman. And he waved at that one, and he was tagged by the catcher O'Brien. He struck out the side, and he has 5 strikeouts now. Mets lead it 2-0 going into the 5th. There's Darryl Strawberry. He has an injured shoulder. He did play last night after the injury, but he's not in the lineup. He is available. He got a royal greeting last week when he showed up in that Dodger uniform in New York.
Talk about drama. Couldn't have been scripted any better. However, this wasn't planned as part of the script. All his former teammates. Darryl, a very popular guy with his teammates, even though he did make some very unpredictable statements. Unpredictable in that Darryl says something one day and he means it, and says something entirely the opposite the next day and means that too. Bobby Ojeda right next to him.
He was tackled in the outfield by Ron Darling, who's doing the pitching today for the Mets. Right now on the mound, pitching to Vince Coleman, it's Tim Belcher. Coleman has a walk and a single and pops this one up. Belcher says he's grateful for that. He wants it. Somebody. Samuel finally caught it, but nobody really took charge. 1 out. He always like to have that one guy on the infield, no matter who it is. He's going to be the first guy to yell for those pop flies, Tim. A little smile on Belcher's face. He's happy to get Coleman out of there.
Anybody's capable of catching it, but somebody yell.
Jeffries, he's 0 for 2. He's hit the ball hard twice. Shows a bunt, takes ball 1. He lined out to left. He grounded out hard to first. And for the 2nd inning in a row, Belcher's taking care of the leadoff man. But the Dodgers can't break through, and they trail 2-0. I don't know what was wrong with that pitch, but that's ball 2. Socia was talking a bit with the plate umpire Pulley. Outfield plays Jeffries to pull the ball when he bats left-handed, and he does. And Green can't come up with it cleanly. Jeffries started but came back to first. 3rd time he's hit the ball hard. That's a base hit. Wynn had a chance at it.
First baseman, Dave.
Nice try by Chris. And the ball just kind of pops out of his glove. No, it hit the ground first. So even had he caught the ball on the short hop, it's still a base hit for Jeffries. Nice try.
Well, he did all he could, and Jeffries is on with 1 out.
Or did it hit the ground first? From that angle, it doesn't look like it did. From that angle, it looked like had he held on to the ball, it might have been a catch.
So Magadan hits with a man on board.
There's one more time from that second angle. See the glove on the ground and the ball in the glove. It looked like it hit the webbing of the glove and just pops out. So had he held on, it would have been a catch.
That's the way it appears. Jeffries gets a base hit out of it with 1 out. And over but low to Magadan. Magadan singled to left and grounded to third. Socha's laying down the law a little bit, doesn't it? L.A. Law. Mets got a run in the first, a run in the fourth. They're batting here in the fifth. About hit the Dodgers 6-2.
With Coleman running in the first inning on the 3-2 pitch, Magadan swinging away, hit the ball into the second base position, and he got a hit. Here's an ideal situation on which to run with the Mets up by 2.
The runner and the throw. Quick tag and out. Quick tag by the young shortstop. 2 out. Jeffries got a heck of a jump, but they still throw him out.
And the hit and run was indeed on, and we talked about Magadan being in between. He's even in between on a hit and run play. He doesn't know whether to swing or not. Watch how Offerman makes that quick tag, as Jack said. He gets down. That's where the ball is. Quick hands by the young shortstop to nail Greg Jeffries. What's the game? Come on.
Catchers need that help on the other end. They need that gritty tag. And Offerman gave it to him. 2 balls, no strikes to count to the batter with 2 out. That's in the gap. Second hit from Magadan. He gets the 2-out double. We are at Dodger Stadium and a sellout crowd. Beautiful day, 70 degrees. Darryl Strawberry out of the starting lineup for the Dodgers. The Mets scored in the first, and they scored again in the 4th inning. Hubie Brooks drove in the first, and then Kevin McReynolds hit the home run.
Home run coming in the 4th inning on a high inside fastball. You saw Socha trying to keep the glove down, and Belcher missing the glove by about a yard. That's what usually happens to the big, strong hitters. Home run number 3 for McReynolds.
And he hit it out of the yard. The batter is Hubie Brooks with a runner at second, 2 out. Ball 1. Front part of this New York order, there aren't many you can pitch around. It's pretty good. Coleman, Jeffries, Magadan, Brooks, Johnson, McReynolds, Tommy Herr. Not as much power as they used to have, but it's still good. Ball 2. The New York Mets are enjoying a good road trip. They have a record of 5-2. And they close out the trip tomorrow. They have quite a pitching pairing here with Martinez against Cone in the finale. Ball 3 is the count to Hubie, and he'll swing if it's around the plate. Bet on that. Let's start the day a 1.5 games behind Pittsburgh, and the Dodgers are tied with Atlanta. That's Alfredo Griffin. He's on the disabled list. Hanging around the dugout. Ball 4 puts Hubie on base. It's the 3rd walk by the Los Angeles hurler.
Shortstop.
To go with 7 hits.
Johnson.
So he's on the ropes. 2 on, 2 out. The batter is the dangerous Howard Johnson, as Lasorda contemplates the proceedings here. Nothing doing in the bullpen, in case you were wondering. Now they stir out there. Howard Johnson 0 for 2, strike. Good pitch from Belcher. Two on, 2 out, a critical spot. And a foul, strike 2. The right-hander out in the bullpen is Tim Cruz. Belcher is due to lead off in the 5th inning for the Dodgers, and Lasorda would like to see him get Howard Johnson. So he wouldn't have to waste a player or make a double switch. Johnson fly to center, fly to right. He could really make the Mets comfortable here. And another foul. Johnson, the dead fastball hitter, right, Tim?
Yes, he is. He likes the ball out over the plate.
Belcher doesn't mind attacking with that fastball. He likes to get it up and a bit out of the strike zone in a spot like this.
Well, guys who are fastball hitters, big, strong hitters, you can crowd. A lot of young pitchers don't think you ought to pitch power hitters inside, but often that's the best place to pitch them.
Looked like he let up a little, and a high fly ball into left for Daniels. The Mets have now left a half dozen, so the Dodgers are still close. Bottom of the 5th inning, and it is still 2-0 New York.
With Alfredo Griffin doing his Magellan impersonation, let's go around the horn and look at other Major League players. Edgar Martinez of Seattle, the red-hot Seattle Mariners, is red hot. Elsewhere, Wally Joyner leading the American League in hitting with a .379 batting average. Hal Morris, on the other hand, we mentioned him earlier. Morris is leading the National League in hitting. And Ryan Sandberg, who had a bad April, is having a remarkable May.
Same old Mr. Sandberg. Here is a foul ball, hard hit by Belcher, 1-2. We're in the middle part of the game, bottom of the 5th, and though the Dodgers trailed 2-0, their bullpen hasn't been that hot, so they're not anxious to get Belcher out of the game.
And Belcher's only given up 2 runs. That is the bottom line, or the top line, as the Mets are the visiting team. But Belcher, Tom Lasorda wants to get him on track. He's going to give him every opportunity to win this ball game, realizing that it's his starting pitching where his strength lies as far as his pitching staff is concerned, and not his bullpen.
Oh, Darling is piling up some strikeouts. He has a half dozen. He's walked 2 and allowed 2 hits. And he has 5 consecutive strikeouts. 5 strikeouts in a row for Darling, and his next target will be Brett Butler. Here's a difficult fellow to fan. Darling got the last out on a strikeout in the 3rd, fanned the side in the 4th, and just racked up Belcher. Butler is 0 for 2, and that ball's caught by Howard Johnson. Hojo nailed that one. He was shortened up because of the speed of Butler and was able to make an easy catch. 2 out.
Second baseman, Juan Samuel.
Darling on his way to an easy inning. But things change in a hurry. Here's Samuel. Second baseman has been on base twice with a walk and reached on an error. Taking a lot more pitches this year. Takes ball 1. And that's the sort of pitch that he would have hammered at a year ago. Particularly with 2 out, he'd be thinking home run up there, 1-1. Great pitch by Darling.
Darling going back to the University of Yale University this fall to complete his college education. He needs 6 hours in Asian studies and history.
Well, that means he's smarter than I am. 1 and 2 the count. And Samwell strikes out. That's 7 of them for Darling. And after 5, it's 2-0. And we'll return to Dodger Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're now into the 6th inning. 2-0 in favor of the Mets. Run in the first, driven in by Hubie Brooks, and the home run by McReynolds in the 4th inning. And Kevin McReynolds leads off in the 6th. He walked, stole a base his first time, so he's having a good afternoon here at Dodger Stadium. Ball 1 from Tim Belcher. Belcher a record of 3 and 4. They play McReynolds straight away. Looked like he was trying to stroke the ball to right. 1-1. He usually pulls the ball, doesn't he, Tim?
Yeah, he's a pull hitter. When he hits the ball the other way, he lifts the ball. He doesn't have a base hit stroke the other way.
And the shortstop. Boy, that was a tough chance. Good throw, fine play, 1 out. Really good by Jose Offerman.
And this game moving right along, a game that didn't move right along, occurred back in 1981, the strike season. Rochester at Pawtucket, and they played 33 innings. A game that started on April 18th and ended on June 23rd. And look at the major leaguers that played in that game. I mean, big names. Cal Ripken, Wade Boggs, Joe Morgan was the manager for Pawtucket. Bruce Hurst, Bobby Ojeda, as a matter of fact, who's pitching for the Dodgers now, was the winning pitcher in that game. And Doc Edwards, who was a coach for the Mets, was the manager of the Rochester Red Wings. 33 innings, the longest game ever played in professional baseball.
Wish I'd have broadcast that one. Here's one to the second baseman off the bat of Burr. Samwell throws him out. 2 gone.
Wade Boggs usually used to call his father and tell him how many hits he got. He'd call him every day. And he said, call him the next day. He said, Dad, I got 4 hits. And his father said, boy, that's great. Your average must have soared. He said, 4 for 12.
It probably went down.
You're right.
The way he was hitting.
Knowing Boggs, you're right.
33 innings. I did do that game when the Cardinals played 25 innings at Shea Stadium. 1 inning shy of the Major League record.
1974.
The batter here is Charlie O'Brien with 2 out. Belcher could have his easiest inning of the game. He has yet to set them down in order. The bunt goes foul. 1-1.
That would ordinarily be a bad play, but with the pitcher coming up, and you clear the pitcher, if O'Brien gets on base, it's a good play. Usually, if you bunt with 2 outs and nobody on, you better be capable of stealing second base or bat 8th. And in this situation, a good try by O'Brien to clear the pitcher and have Coleman lead off the 7th.
There are 2 out here in the top of the 6th. That's in there, 1-2. Two to O'Brien. Tim, you were talking about that Seattle club earlier. They won again today.
4-1 at Yankee Stadium.
Pat Rice, his first major league start, he was the winner. They're doing everything right. They're 8 games over 500. Down in order go the Mets. Bottom of the 6th rolling around. Dodgers coming to bat, trailing 2-0. Now broadcasting for the Dodgers, Don Drysdale, Hall of Famer. Wonderful fella.
No, I'll say the winder.
And a big hit, big hero out here in Los Angeles. Worked with Vince Scully.
That was a Freudian slip. You said a big hit. Don Drysdale led the National League in batters hit, 156.
I'll say. He's mean. He even pushes Ross Porter around in that Dodger broadcast booth, and Vin Scully. Here's Chris Gwynn. He's had a tough time against Ron Darling. He's struck out twice. Darling has fanned 7. Walked 2, allowed only 2 hits. Dodgers trailed 2-0 here in the 6th. Gwynn, Murray, and Daniels in the crowd trying to rev it up here. That's ball 3, and Darling asks for trouble. Darling doesn't have any complete games, but that's not unusual with John Franco residing in the Met bullpen. Ball 4. Gwynn says thank you. Let's go to Pat O'Brien in New York.
All right, Jack, and in New York, you saw the score there. The Yanks lose the final at the stadium 4-1, but after 32 scoreless innings, leading off the bottom of the ninth, Jesse Barfield hits the home run. The Yanks lose 4-1, and Jack and Tim, if I had to guess, you are both wearing sunglasses out there in Los Angeles today.
Well, the Mets had their Doc Gooden. We mentioned Doc Edwards, so 2 Docs on the Mets, and we at CBS now have our Doc, Jack.
You're about right, weren't they?
There he is.
Never give
Pat O'Brien, give him an honorary
Never give
doctorate.
up on the person next to you. Never surrender your memories of this place at a time when...
He was honored at the University of South Dakota.
Honorary doctor's degree, that's really nice.
Doctor of Laws, Pat O'Brien. We're proud of him. The other guy who graduated that year didn't get anything. There's Ron Darling. He's going back to finish his education at Yale. He'll be a full-fledged graduate someday soon. Meanwhile, the tying run is at the plate, and the Dodgers have the right guy up there, Eddie Murray. Ooh, big swing, 1-2. There's a left-hander warming up out in the bullpen for New York. You recognize him, Tim?
Pete Shorrock. You can recognize him by his size. He's 6'5". He rather stands out, no pun intended, the bullpen.
Leadoff man on base with a walk. Tying run at the plate, Eddie Murray. Time called. The batter asked for time. The umpire gave it to him. Here's a pivotal inning for the New York Mets and Ron Darling. Now he'll make the batter wait a little bit. Buddy Harrelson shut out so far on 2 hits. Excuse me, leading 2-0, having out-hit the Dodgers 7-2. Concerned about his hurler, has the bullpen busy, and the count 2-2. It's the first noise we've heard from this crowd in a while. And it's a sellout here. Murray has hit 5 home runs. Chris Gwynn will play it cozy over at first base. Murray spoiled a good pitch. That was a good piece of hitting, Tim.
That's really an interesting point, because people might say, what do you mean a good piece of hitting? He fouled it back. Eddie swung through it at strike 3, and the better the hitter, the more the hitter has an opportunity of fouling balls back. The good hitters foul them back with 2 strikes. The bad hitters swing through them or put them in play.
Leadoff man is on him. Another throw over there. To the count. Got him. That is the 8th strikeout for Ron Darling, who's having a fine afternoon. Second time he's fanned Murray. Highest number of strikeouts he's ever had is 12.
Murray going for the splitter, and look how that ball goes down out of the strike zone. Darling has really been sharp this afternoon.
edge yet. Here he'll be facing Cal Daniels. He grounded out and singled. His base hit was to the opposite field. He can hit the ball out to the opposite field. It takes a strike.
You mentioned Ron Darling with 12 career strikeouts as his high. Both times in 1984 and 1986, it was against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So he's doing it again. You get that additional pitch going for you, like that split finger, and the other pitches become more effective.
Then your fastball is faster, correct.
Whitehurst has joined the bullpen brigade. 0-2 the count. Looks like his head came off that ball.
Pitch popularized about 4 years ago. Actually, Bruce Sutter, the first guy to throw that pitch in the late 70s with any consistency. Guys saw how effective he was, and a lot of pitchers have that in their repertoire now, the split finger fastball.
And it works again, and it gives Darling, well, there's a strikeout and the double play. That ends the inning. That's 9 strikeouts and the man out stealing. Now we've played 6. Darling still has the shutout going. 2-0 Mets.
Earlier in the game, we talked about the defensive prowess of Charlie O'Brien. And watch how on both ends of this play, he makes a sparkling play blocking the ball, keeping it in front of him. And now the hesitation by Chris Gwynn at first base, and O'Brien recovering in time to have Gwynn easily. A fine, fine play by Charlie O'Brien, and Darling with 9 strikeouts now.
And Darling leading off, fouls the ball out of play. 9 strikeouts for Ron Darling to go with 3 walks and only 2 hits allowed. 2-0 Mets, 7th inning. Darling has 2 base hits out of 13 at-bats this year. Tim Belcher, the pitcher. It's in the gap, and it is off the bat of the pitcher, Darling. He's content with a double leading off here in the 7th inning. Let's go to New York. What's up, Doc?
Tiger Stadium, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, 2 out. Alan Trammell with a chance to win it. He flies out to left. The game is over. 4-1 Twins. Rick Aguilera, the save for Mark Guthrie, his 7th. This is Dr. Pat O'Brien in New York. Back to you.
Well, that was nice of his university to honor him like that.
I'll say.
And now Darling has double to start this 7th inning. Around to the top of the order, Vince Coleman. Even if he's sacrificing, you better make sure you handle the ball well. And he bunts, and it's foul and out of play. Right-hander for the Dodgers, who warmed up earlier, Tim Cruz, is doing it again. I mentioned earlier about Darling. He does swing the bat hard, Tim. He walked into one.
First pitcher since Tom Seaver to get home runs in consecutive games. He did that 2 years ago. Good athlete. We mentioned going to Yale, and he was a defensive back on the Yale football team. Good all-around athlete.
Strike 1 on Vince Coleman, who has walked, singled, and popped out. No stolen bases today. 1 ball, 1 strike. And the Dodgers have to be on the alert for most anything. Darling at second, nobody out. That's a big run for the Mets. That's high. The Mets have stranded a half dozen. Lost a man stealing, hit into a double play, so they could be better off than they are. Now Lasorda trying to get the Mets out and figure a way to get some runs of his own. His club has had only 2 hits. 2-1 to Coleman. He was going to bunt and took ball 3.
The count sometimes dictates whether you're going to bunt or hit. You're in a hitting situation here with a count 3 balls and 1 strike.
Coleman's driven in 8 runs. He walks. Second time he has walked. 4th walk given by Belcher. Are they going to let him pitch his way out of it or not? Lasorda doesn't make a move. There's Perinoski, his pitching coach. Go on out and talk to him, says Lasorda, and we'll let Cruz warm up a little more. At the conclusion of today's game, Tim McCarver and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in the player's behalf to the Special Olympics.
Usually that's an indication when the manager or the pitching coach tells the catcher to talk with the pitcher, an indication that he wants to get a pitcher warm in a hurry. Cruz is ready, but John Candelaria has just joined him, and he just started. So maybe that was the reason for Scioscia's trip to the mound. There's the candy man.
Candelaria, the left-hander, Cruz, the right-hander, and strike 1 to Jeffries, who's hit the ball hard 3 times and has 1 hit. Dodgers need a triple play. 2-0 Mets in the 7th. And they'll get 1. First and third, 1 out, and they barely got the batter, Coleman. It was a gutsy play by Samuel, but he pulled it off.
I was thinking the same thing. He had a sure out at first base, but he tries to get Coleman at second. Eddie Stanky, we talked about him earlier. He used to say on a play like this, go in standing up at second base. If you go in standing up instead of sliding, you won't get there as quickly, but what you'll do, you'll be in the way of the guy trying to catch the ball and the ball. And Coleman sliding, of course, and that cleared the way for Offerman to make the play, but a very, very gutsy play by Juan Samuel.
And the batter is going to be Magadan, the left-handed hitter, so we expect Candelaria as Perinoski goes to the mound. There's Samuel. He made the good play. And who's Perinoski? 1 out here in the 7th. He wants Candelaria, so the lefty will come in.
This relief break is sponsored by Rolaids.
And the new pitcher is John Candelaria. No wins, no losses, 2 saves, his 13th appearance.
Let's go back to that play with Vince Coleman at first base. The second baseman going to his left in Samuel. Now watch how Coleman slides. Just think, if he went in standing up, what would happen? He would actually get in the way of Offerman and the ball. All sorts of things can happen in a situation like that. The ball could hit Coleman, or Offerman would be blocked out of the play. The ball could bounce into center field. It's a very sophisticated play because most guys are taught to slide going into bases.
That allows the runners to end up at first and third, and they just did get Coleman. There's Samuel, who made that play. Darling, the pitcher, is running the bases. He's over at third, and Jeffries at first, and the batter Magadan. Ball 1. The left-handers bother Magadan very much, Tim?
This left-hander bothers any left-hander. Even bothers retired left-handers. I don't think I ever got a hit off this guy. I am telling you, when he was young, I mean, he is still a tough opponent for left-handed hitters. But when he was younger and throwing hard with that sweeping curveball with Pittsburgh, he was awesome.
He's all arms and legs as big as he is. This inning started with a double by the pitcher, Ron Darling. He's at third base. Then a walk to Coleman. It was forced by Jeffries. He's at first with 1 out. You can get Magadan on a double play. He doesn't run well, but he can handle the bat. 1 ball, 1 strike, and this might be the only man faced by Candelaria. He's trying for the strikeout. 2 balls and a strike.
With Candelaria throwing as hard as he does, and Magadan's propensity to hit the ball the other way, I would think that Magadan's going to hit the ball to left field. I think the Dodger outfield's a little too straight away. I'd play him like a right-handed pull hitter in this instance.
Let's see what comes of it as the Mets leading 2-0 try to widen their lead. 2-2 on the foul. That was a left field stroke by Magadan. With Candelaria in there, let's look at the top relievers. 12 saves for Reardon and Ward. Dibble has 10. Lee Smith has 11 in the National League. So Reardon and Ward are tops in the major leagues. 2-2 to Magadan. Scioscia sets up away. The pitch was away. That might, they'll only get one and a run. Hey, they got him both. Magadan, as slow as he is, couldn't break it up. He doesn't argue about the call, and it's still 2-0. Surprising double play.
Two of the titans in the NL West collide. The Los Angeles Dodgers battle the world champion Cincinnati Reds next Saturday on CBS.
Well, you miss a lot of things at home when you're on the road with a baseball club. There's John Franco, who has saved 7 for the Mets. He has a birthday greeting to give.
I'd like to wish my daughter Nicole a very special happy birthday today. Sorry Daddy can't be with you, and I love you a lot. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Daughter Nicole is 3 years old today. Franco loves Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn, and he was thrilled to get back there after being with Cincinnati. Well, the Dodgers are still in it. And leading it off is Lenny Harris. He is 0 for 2 against Ron Darling. Darling has pitched a fine game with 9 strikeouts, walked 3, allowed 2 hits, and leads 2-0. The Mets have hit into 2 double plays, lost a man stealing, and left 7. So they could be very comfortable, but they're not. Strike 2 on Harris. Nobody on or out in the 7th. 1-2 to Lenny Harris. Missed 2-2. Ron Darling has that split finger delivery, doing good things for him today. I mentioned earlier, he has no complete games. This is his 7th start. 3-2. Scioscia to follow. Then Offerman, then the pitcher, so they're still warming up Cruz in the bullpen. Hurd gets to it. 1 out. While not all sports stories are happy stories. Here's Pat O'Brien in New York.
Indeed, Jack, a tragic story in sports today. Rudy Neerlich, who won the 1991 Giant Slalom World Championship and considered the gold medal favorite for the Olympic Games at Albertville, was killed early this morning when his car skidded on a rain-slicked road near his home in Austria. The car slammed into a restaurant, and the 25-year-old skiing star died on the way to the hospital. Once again, Austrian skier Rudolf Neerlich is dead at the age of 25.
My gosh, that is the 2nd Austrian skier that has been killed this year. Gernot Reinstadler was killed in a practice run back in February. Oh, boy.
Here's the fly ball to short left. Little trouble. Drops. Scioscia gets a 1-out hit. You'll be involved in those Olympics, Tim, skiing in particular.
February 8th to February 23rd, 1992. The Winter Olympics in Albertville, southeastern part of France. Albertville, the title city, and 10 venues there. Different venue there with Pete Shorrock, the left-hander, and Wally Whitehurst, the right-hander.
A little flare off the bat of Scioscia has him running the bases with 1 out. The batter is Offerman. He has grounded out and struck out and really hasn't had a very good swing all afternoon against Ron Darling. So he tries to bunt his way on. Strike 1. The on-deck hitter and pinch hitter will be Stan Javier. Buddy Harrelson trying to protect his 2-0 lead here in the 7th. Over on the Dodger bench, and we may see him pinch hitting before this day is over, Gary Carter. But Javier will bat next.
5 ex-Mets in Dodger uniforms. 5.
That's a lot. Offerman chased a bad pitch in the dirt, and that's strike 2.
Offerman at the low offer ring of Ron Darling. And I would imagine Darling will come back with that pitch. Well, that thing is diving out of the strike zone.
He's got a good one going today. Darling will be striving for his 10th strikeout. And Jose laid off at that time. This batter is from the Dominican Republic.
Of course, San Pedro de Macorís.
Jose Offerman.
One time, a couple of years ago, 8 major league teams had shortstops from San Pedro de Macorís.
Up the middle. That pitch down the middle. Socha has to stop at second. That pitch did nothing as it appeared from here. Tying runs around. 4 hits for the Dodgers now. Guess who's going to hit?
Ground ball just eking by the outstretched glove of Ron Darling, and another script written between the Mets and the Dodgers. And here comes Buddy Harrelson to talk with Darryl Strawberry, pinch hitting for John Candelaria.
They've got a lot to talk about. Strawberry will bat with the tying runs on base. New pitcher coming in for New York. A strong effort by Ron Darling. 6 1/3 innings. No runs, 4 hits, struck out 9. Walked 3, can't lose, could win number 3. He is replaced by Pete Shorrock.
Good fastball, a good overhand curveball, only 21 years old, from Falls Church, Virginia. 6'5", 195 pounds, Pete Shorrock. You think Buddy Harrelson doesn't have confidence in this young man to come in to pitch to Strawberry in a 2-0 ball game with 2 runners on?
I'll say he does. Strawberry, 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter, has hit 2 home runs this year. The thing about Strawberry is they can reach all the fences.
And one against the left-hander, Frank Viola. He
About
hit
a week
that
ago.
on Tuesday, 11 days ago.
Okay, let's see what Strawberry can do here with 2 on and 1 out. Strawberry has batted 77 consecutive at-bats here without a home run. His last home run here was back in May of 1990. Shorrock to Strawberry, 2 on, 1 out. Drive in the inside corner. Pitch came right after him, and that's where most people like to pitch to Strawberry. You better make it good. Another pitch in, pitch way in. To worry about the base runners with Socha on at second base.
Those 2 inside fastballs leading up to the curveball, the overhand curveball, the best pitch by Shorrock.
Let's see if he gets it over. Like that. Going over but low. 2 balls and a strike.
So you had inside strike, inside ball, and now Shorrock misses with a curveball. We'll see if they come back with it.
2 on, 1 out, 3 and 1 count. The thing about losing Strawberry is that the on-deck man, Butler, is very difficult to get on a double play. 3 and 1. Strike. The kid got one in there. 3 and 2.
Now an interesting situation. Do you send the runners?
And do you throw another breaking pitch?
Do not have speed at second base. Strawberry strikes out a lot. I wouldn't send him here.
All right. Let's see what O'Brien has called for. Fastball, he fouled it away. And the runner stayed. Bloop single by Socia, hit up the middle by Offerman after Harris had grounded out. Mets got a run in the first. Another in the fourth. They lead 2-0. 2 on, 1 out. 3-2. Runners not going. Right at the left fielder, McReynolds. Strawberry hit it hard, but out. 2 gone. And Short is almost out of the woods. He has another left-handed batter coming up.
Short challenging Strawberry, and Darrell hits it hard. That's his power alley, that ball down. Power the other way. It doesn't matter to him whether he hits it to left field or right field. Hits it hard, but McReynolds was there.
They got a good swing out of it, but he hit it right at McReynolds. And the tying runs are at first and second, 2 out. As Shorrock tries to save it for Ron Darling. He will now deal with Brett Butler. Butler's 0 for 3. Lined out to short his last time. The only time he's hit the ball hard. He's driven in 10 runs. Hit 1 homer. Time. Kid almost fell off the mound as the umpire called time.
Darrell Strawberry with power the other way. You've got to play him deep in left field, but McReynolds is playing the same spot for Strawberry and Butler. Now, you know, with Butler weighing about 50 pounds less than Strawberry, one of them is wrong. Butler does not drive the ball the other way.
About the only thing that would make you think you'd be playing deep is to try to cut down the extra base hit.
Late inning to cut, but you've got, you know, that way you're giving up a run if you play it that way. There's Darrell. You've got to respect his power the other way, but not Brett Butler.
Ball 1 to Butler. 2 on, 2 out. Nice kid. This kid coming after these hitters.
I think McReynolds should be about 5 steps in left field. You got to realize when hitters hit the ball the other way, they use their arms. When they pull the ball, they use their bodies with their arms. McReynolds too deep.
There go the runners stealing. And no play anywhere. So Shorrock let the runners advance to second and third. Butler took ball 2. First stolen base of the year for both Socia and Offerman.
Socia stealing on his own and catching everybody by surprise. Not even a play on Mike Socia. Shorrock didn't give him a look, and Offerman followed by being the trail runner. He's at second now, representing the potential tying run.
Well, with 2 out, the Dodgers still need the hit. With 2 out. Oh, what a bad break for the Dodgers on the line drive to the third baseman Jeffries. 2 line drives that were caught. And the Mets still lead it 2-0 after 7.
This game summary is sponsored by Rolaids.
Ron Darling hopes that the bullpen can give him his 3rd win of the year. Kevin McReynolds provided 1 of the runs with a home run. The Mets have stranded 7 and in addition hit into a double play and lost a man stealing. The Dodgers came within a whisker, Tim.
Sometimes it's a drawback to be a good bunter with a good reputation of putting a ball down. Watch Jeffries playing Butler way in, and had he been playing him back in normal depth, that ball's probably by him and 2-run score. But because he had to play for the bunt, he was in and made a relatively easy play out of it.
The new pitcher is Tim Cruz, and he's greeted with a base hit off the bat of Hubie Brooks. That starts the 8th inning. Mets get their 9th hit. Cruz a record of 1-0, the 3rd pitcher of the day for the Dodgers. And we're going to have a pinch runner for Hubie Brooks. It's going to be Darrell Boston.
Running for Brooks.
Better base runner and a better outfielder too, Tim.
Oh, absolutely. So Buddy Harrelson doing 2 things, putting in the fast runner And Boston, probably the best outfielder the Mets have, the best defensive outfielder they have.
Now Howard Johnson of Boston on base. 2-0 in favor of the Mets in the 8th. Boston has stolen 3 bases. That one missed the outside corner.
11 days ago, Darryl Strawberry and the Dodgers came back to Shea, and everybody started chanting, "Darryl, Darryl, Darryl." Well, it was Darryl Boston who came out of the dugout and waved his cap to everybody.
Most acclaim he's ever had.
Funny man.
He's leaning a little, but not going. And Howard Johnson took ball 2. Harry Wendelstedt is the crew chief. He's umpiring at third base. See if they start the runner on 2-0.
I think this is an offensive situation, and Howard Johnson, with his power, I wouldn't put the runner in motion. This is an offensive hitting situation.
Runner takes off, and Johnson hits it to first, and no other play by Murray. But Johnson did advance the runner.
Yeah, but you don't want your power guy advancing runners.
Swinging at pitches he doesn't want to.
That's exactly right. That's the notion behind not having him swing. But Buddy Harrelson having him swing at a pitch that he ordinarily would have taken. The ball was high, but he did advance the runner.
But as you said, Tim, at the start of the game, it's a different Met approach.
That's true. Buddy Harrelson has preached to the Mets hitters all year that the game has got to change. They can't rely on the 3-run homer anymore. So he's hitting and running with guys that he wouldn't ordinarily do that with.
McReynolds has a walk and a home run, 1 for 2. Cruz gets ahead on the count. Boston at second, 1 out. 8th inning, 2-0 Mets. It's 1-1. Cruz following Belcher and Candelaria to the mound. Candelaria did a good job of getting the double play ball. Kept it close. Big lead by the runner at second. Scioscia tries to drive him back, 2-1. Mike Hartley warms up in the home club bullpen. 2-2.
Back at the 4th inning, Tim Belcher, the starting pitcher, tried to come inside to Kevin McReynolds. Here's what happened.
The way it went, that made it 2-0, and that's the last scoring we've had in this game. 2-2 pitch. Sky to center for Butler. The runner not. Now he calls. He's going to stay. 2 out. McReynolds leaves the runner. And if the Mets are going to get any more in this inning, it will be up to Tommy Herr.
See if Tommy Lasorda elects to put her on with Charlie O'Brien on deck. And Tommy, realizing that Buddy Harrelson is not going to pinch hit for Charlie O'Brien. You rarely take a catcher out in a game where he's called a shutout.
You call the shot, they're going to put him on. It will be the 5th pass handed out to New York to go with 9 hits. 14 runners, and they've scored only 2. Left 7, hit 2 double plays, lost a man stealing. So it's still a squeaky game. Down in the Dodger dugout is Bill Russell. What's he doing, Tim?
Talking to Joe Ferguson, and that's for outfield alignment, defensive positioning of the outfielders in particular. Sometimes the worst seat in the house is a major league dugout. You can't see the outfielders. You can't see the alignment. You can see possibly from the third base dugout, the left fielder may be too shallow or too deep, but you can't tell as far as their setup is concerned whether they're playing them straight away or not. And that's Russell's job. And Bill Russell, Ropes, as he's known, will probably be the next Dodger manager.
That's if Lasorda diets too much and disappears. 2 on, 2 out. O'Brien, the catcher, 0 for 3. He could hurt the Dodgers. That's right. Russell probably could have had other managerial jobs, but he prefers to sit here in the wings with the Dodgers. Outfield to the right for O'Brien, who has driven in 3 runs this year. Strike, and it's 1-1. The Dodgers have just left a couple on. Will have Samuel, Wynn, and Murray in their 8th. Number 2, 3, 4 hitters. Cruz knows he can't afford to let the Mets get further away. It's 2-0 in the 8th. That's a strike, and the batter O'Brien's in the hole. Leadoff single by Brooks. Boston ran for him. Johnson grounded out. McReynolds flied out. They walked her. 1 ball, 2 strikes to O'Brien. 2-2. At second base, a good base runner, Darrell Boston. And Tom Herr can still move. He's at first. Batter, Charlie O'Brien, New York catcher. 2 out, 2 and 2. Ball 3. The umpire was leaning with that right hand.
No better term for this than cruise control.
Sharp breaking pitch, and the batter almost went for it. Now the runners will take off. Boston will leave from second. Herr from first. And a ground ball cut off by Harris. Now the Mets have left 9, but they still lead 2-0.
Pat O'Brien back in New York City. The second leg of the Triple Crown is over at the Preakness. Hansel comes in first, followed by Corporate Report, then Maine Minister. Hansel paid 20-20. Back to you guys at the field.
Playing right field. Number 6, Darrell Boston.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by the new generation of Oldsmobile. Extra strength roll age with 1,000 milligrams of fast relief. And by Miller High Life. Buy that man a Miller.
Back here at Dodger Stadium, the attendance today is 38,657. And there's our line score with the Mets leading 2-0 in the bottom of the 8th. Juan Samuel taking ball 1 from Pete Shorrock, with Darrell Boston taking over in right field for Hubie Brooks. And so Hansel won the Preakness. Followed by Corporate Report and Maine Minister. Strike to go was up the street. I thought Olympio might win it. Hansel the winner, so there will be no Triple Crown winner this year in thoroughbred racing. 2 balls and a strike. Pete Shorrock came on, and he got Strawberry, and he got Butler to end the 7th inning, both on line drives. Samuel takes ball 3.
So I guess Hansel and Strike to Go will be going for the rubber race of that 3-race series, right?
All right, there'll be others in the Belmont, including Light, the Philly. Foul ball, 3 and 2. Samuel leading off in a 3-2 count. The Dodgers have left 7. While being shut out. Samuel draws a walk. He certainly is a different hitter this year. That's his second walk. Well, tomorrow on CBS Sports at 1:30 Eastern Time, the Tour DuPont. And Atle Kavazbol of Norway is the current leader. Then at 3:30 Eastern, coverage of the Winston NASCAR's All-Star Race. Tomorrow on CBS Sports. That's at 3 o'clock. And the Tour DuPont at 1:30 Eastern. Tying run at the plate in the person of the pinch hitter, Stan Javier. He will bat for Chris Gwynn. Javier clamoring for playing time. Hasn't been able to break into this Dodger lineup. Came down here from Oakland. He stopped the game because of that beach ball.
Javier, the son of former Major League second baseman with the Cardinals primarily, Julian Javier. Stan named after Stanley Frank Musial.
Now we have action out of the New York dugout. After Shorrock, the rookie, issued a walk, and after the Dodgers make a move with the pinch hitter, we might have a double switch. Javier is a switch hitter, so he doesn't mind, but the left-hander is going to come into the game for New York here in the bottom of the 8th. In the New York dugout is Pete Shorrock. He bailed the Mets out in the 7th, but then walked the leadoff man here in the 8th. And he gives way to John Franco, who's appearing for the 12th time this year. Record of 1-1 with 7 saves. He's batting the number 7 spot, and batting 9th is Keith Miller, who takes over at second base for Tom Herr. The score remains 2-0 Mets. So this is the way the Mets batting order now looks. Coleman, Jeffries, Magadum, Boston, instead of Brooks, who's out of there now. And Johnson, McReynolds, Franco, O'Brien, and Miller will bat 9th and bat in the 9th.
And that's why the manager goes right to the umpire. If he goes to the pitcher first and doesn't make sure the umpire makes the double switch, then Franco would be leading off the 9th inning and not Miller. But as it stands, Miller will bat 9th to lead off the 9th, and Franco batting in the 7 hole. That's what the double switch is all about.
Well, they don't take many liberties off first base from Franco. Samuel, the runner. And Javier hits the double play ball. Faded by Miller just into the game. Safe at second. Williams and Orr, the guy just came into the game and hit the ball right to him. And it did take a bad hop.
But it's an error on Keith Miller. A lot of people think that pinch hitting is the toughest job in baseball. I think late inning defense, even though this move was not made because of defense, but it was made primarily to make the double switch. That a double play ball, and it just ate Keith Miller up, and the Dodgers with a golden opportunity here.
That's one of the reasons why Miller has been unable to break into this New York lineup. He can't find a position for him to play. They tried him in the outfield after playing second and third. And who do they have up? Murray. Samuel at second, Javier at first. Both good runners, tying runs. Ball 1 to Eddie Murray. He's 1 for 3. Dodgers trailing 2-0. Have 2 on and nobody out in the 8th. The roar from the crowd. They're following the basketball game where the Lakers involved with Portland, and they're reacting to the results of that game. John Franco's probably wondering what's going on. He falls behind 2-0 to Eddie Murray. 2 on, nobody out. And a hit. That might even tie it. Javier gets to third base. They hold him up with nobody out. It's a 2-1 game. That error a moment ago might kill New York today. Now these Dodger fans have a lot to cheer about. I don't know what's happening in the basketball game, but they've got a lot to cheer about here.
Falling behind, Franco had to come in with a strike, and Eddie Murray has been a great clutch hitter throughout his career for Baltimore and now with the Dodgers. However, it was the error that set things up. A double play ball hit to Miller, and he booted it. And instead of 2 outs and nobody on with Murray hitting, first and second and nobody out with Murray hitting. Big difference.
Now second and third, nobody out. And Cal Daniels up. They're going to have to pitch to him. Second and third. Infielders are back. They'll give up the tying run for an out. Strike to Daniels. Daniels 1 for 3. That run charge to Shorrock. Closes the book on him. There's Tom Lasorda. Things are rolling in his direction. Inside to Daniels. And another left-handed. Now Carter is going to move in and bat for Lenny Harris if the Mets keep Franco in it. Cal Daniels to put the Dodgers on top for the first time today. Watched it sink low. 2-1. In the bullpen is Alejandro Pena, a former Dodger. Franco striving for the strikeout here. He's behind on the count. This is again 3-1. It won't be a calamity if they walk Daniels and load the bases, but Franco was trying to get Daniels to bite on a pitch out of the strike zone. Might do the same here. There's a little slow roller. He's going to tie the game out at first. 2-2 on the infield out by Daniels.
Buddy Harrelson's Mets burned because the infield wasn't in, but you can certainly understand why the infield was back. Because if Daniels rolls one through the infield because the infield is in, then Murray's able to score. As it stands right now, however, he's the potential go-ahead run at third.
Murray's perched at third with 1 out, and here we go with the former business. Gary Carter, former Met, pinch hitting for Lenny Harris. Infield comes in now with the lead run at third and 1 out. 2-2 the score. Dodgers still have only 5 hits in the game. Carter wants at least a fly ball. And ball 1.
2 reasonable decisions by Buddy Harrelson in this inning have been disastrous. 1, putting Keith Miller in for defense in the double switch, and 2, not having the infield in.
Carter, the man on the spot with Franco. Ball 2. The Lakers played Oakland, and look what happened, or Portland, and look what happened. 111-106. Lakers beat Portland, and that was the reason for the loud crowd reaction a while ago. Now their Dodgers are in a spot to go on top. So this crowd here at Dodger Stadium having fun. 2-0 to Carter. Ball 3, and he's swinging, folks. You can bet on that.
Especially with Mike Sosa, a left-handed hitter, on deck.
Let's see if Franco gives him anything to swing at. Here is Sosa. He'll be up next. Runner at third, 1 out. On the corner, Franco kept it away from him. Carter talks to Pulley. Franco came in and got the double play ball, but it was kicked at second base. Ball 4. Now Franco apparently is going to stay in there and pitch to Sosa. We're going to have a pinch runner.
But the most important development right now is not between the lines, it's outside the lines. Mike Sosa talking to Joey Amalfitano. Greg Smith is going to be the pinch runner. So Amalfitano talking to Sosa, and one would think that certainly the squeeze is in order in this situation. Lasorda loves to squeeze. Sosa's a double play man. Socia also a good bunter. I'll tell you, the green light, the green squeeze light is up all over this ballpark. Socia even went to third base coach Joey Malfitano before he went to the plate.
At least he put it in the mind of the New York Mets and John Franco. Greg Smith will pinch run and then take over at third base, apparently, for Lenny Harris. As Tom Lasorda, who has tied this game, with 2 in the 8th, wants to take the lead. I was thinking about Leo DeRocher. He, too, loved his squeeze play.
Yep.
He even liked the 2-strike squeeze play.
So the Dodgers, former Dodgers, Don Zimmer, Roger Craig, Don, the manager of the Cubs, Craig, the manager of the Giants, all of them like it. They were trained that way.
First and third, 1 out. There's been only 1 hit in the inning by the Dodgers. A hit, 2 walks, and an error. And Socia takes ball 1. He's had a walk, a single, and a stolen base. And a very good batting eye. And left-handers don't make him bail very much. We'll keep an eye on Eddie Murray, the runner at third. Franco can't get that good look at him being a left-hander. On the stretch. Pitch out. It's been a good game. That scored around the first. McReynolds homer in the 4th. Dodgers have tied it in the 8th. Have first and third and 1 out.
Mets certainly thought the squeeze was on then. You don't pitch out with the count 1 ball and no strikes otherwise.
So the 2 starters are out of the picture. Ron Darling, Tim Belcher. This is Franco's game. He's behind 2-0. And 3-0. So now let's look at the next batter. The number 8 hitter and the young shortstop. This Tom Lasorda paces. There's Murray perched at third. Is he going to turn him loose on 3-0? That could happen. Took a strike, 3-1.
Well, you're not going to pitch out with a count 3-1 and runners at the corners. This is a good time for the squeeze right now. The count dictates a good time for the squeeze play.
Pitch out would really be something, wouldn't it?
I'll tell you.
That would load the bases.
Awfully brazen to pitch out here.
3-1. Runner goes from first and out at third on a dandy play by Jeffries and a late throw to first. That's a tough base running play from Murray and a good play, an alert play by Jeffries for the tag. And Socia reaches on the fielder's choice. That's the last thing I expected.
How about that?
Jose Offerman, shortstop.
Daniels running at first base. Murray frozen at third base. He doesn't know whether to go in or not. And really, I mean, you can't fault Eddie Murray in a situation like that. He was frozen, and by the time he got back, he just couldn't get back in time before Jeffries made the tag.
Right, because he had to go ordinarily on a ground ball.
Sure.
Now it's up to the rookie, Jose Offerman. He's 1 for 3. First and second, 2 outs. Score tied 2-2 in the 8th. And ball 1.
The Dodgers sending the runner, Daniels, from first to second to stay out of the double play. And something very unusual happened as a result of that. Ordinarily, Murray would have gone home to stay out of the double play, but because of Daniels going to second, Murray elected to stay at third. Weird play.
What? Last thing I expected. 2 on, 2 out. Ball 2 to the hitter, Jose Offerman, who has not driven in a run this year. Franco wriggling, trying to get out of this inning. 2-2 the score in the 8th. 2 out, 2 on. On the corner, 2-1.
First and third and 1 out. Daniels was running, and this ball scorched down the third baseline. And Murray couldn't beat Jeffries back to the bag, but Socia beat his throw to first. Wow.
Here is a ball off the glove of Jeffries. That loads the bases. So the Mets defense, which is much maligned this year, and rightly so, has really botched up this inning. That's an error charge to the third baseman, the second error of the inning. And it loads the bases, and the pitcher is due, Cruz, and the Dodgers go to their bench.
Jeffries had it, dropped it, and then kicked it. So clearly an error on Greg Jeffries, and now Jeff Hamilton's going to be the pinch hitter. What a disastrous inning for the Mets.
Now the bases are loaded.
I said Cal Daniels twice. It was Greg Smith, the pinch runner for Gary Carter, who took off on that play.
Right, and he's the lead runner over at third base now, with Socha down at second, Offerman at first base, and Jeff Hamilton pinch hitting. What an inning. There have been 2 walks, 2 errors, and a hit in this inning. Jeff Hamilton hits it to third, and it goes right under the glove. It's a fair ball. 2-run score. What an inning. And the Dodgers lead 4-2. And the call at third base, safe. Is that another error? It is. It's the third New York error of the inning. 3 errors, 2 walks, a hit. The Dodgers have scored 4 times and lead 4-2.
It doesn't get any worse than this for a major league team. Watch Greg Jeffries. Clearly the ball in fair territory. I don't think he laid a glove on it. Ball may have hit the bag on the short hop. 2-run score, and yep, he did lay a glove on it. The heel of the glove, it kicked foul and allowed 2 runs to score, and Offerman ends up at third base.
And Butler could keep the merry-go-round going. First and third, 2 out. Ball 1 from Franco, who is saying to himself, hey, what more can I do, man? I'm getting him to hit ground balls at people. What can I do? And the count to Butler goes to 2-0. Hamilton at first, Offerman at third. What an inning.
Christmas in May for Tommy Lasorda.
Mr. Harrelson is not enjoying this. He came into the inning with a 2-0 lead. Butler hits the ball too short. Force out, and the inning is finally over. Now the Dodgers have left 9, but there are 3 errors in the inning. 4 runs on only 1 hit, 2 walks, 3 errors, 2 left. After 8, Dodgers lead it 4-2. Well, the Dodgers have been given some gifts today. 4 runs on only 5 hits. And they lead 4-2 into the 9th, and Greg Jeffries on the bench, not feeling good about what's happened.
2 errors in a row on 2 pitches. This was the second error. His first one allowed the bases to be loaded, and this one allows 2 runs to score. One of the big stories in spring training with the Mets, should Kevin Elster be the shortstop, and Howard Johnson at third, and Jeffries at second base. Elster presently on the disabled list. He comes off on Tuesday, we understand. But the 2 trouble positions, second base and third, open the way to 4 unearned runs in the 8th inning for the Dodgers.
Strange thing. Tommy Herr was not going to play because of back spasms, and this fellow up at the plate now, the pinch hitter, Chris Donalds, was going to play third base, and Jeffries was going to play second. Who knows what would have happened. And this is Jay Howell. He saved a half-dozen games. He's appearing for the 13th time. Cruz will be the winner if it stays as is. 4-2 Dodgers, 9th inning. And a strike. D-O-double-N-E-L-S, Chris Donalds. He was born in Los Angeles. Played at Loyola Marymount. from Howell. Howell's a left-handed hitter all the way. He's a sparkling personality, isn't he, Tim?
I'll say.
But he's in the hole here against the veteran Jay Howell. This fella can throw hard. Throws the breaking ball, 1-2.
Chris Donalds with a base hit his first at bat against Tim Belcher in the Dodgers' first game at Shea Stadium 11 days ago.
Dodgers have been out hit 9-5, but they lead 4-2. Pitch sent low again. 2-2. Mets need a runner to have a chance. Coleman will follow the top of the order. And Donald stays with that breaking pitch. This copyrighted telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Been a dandy here at Dodger Stadium. 38,000 plus on hand. Howell following Belcher. Candelaria. Cruz to the mound. And there's the first out in the ninth on a strikeout. The coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on CBS is Rick LaCivita. Today's telecast directed by Joe Assetti. The Baseball 91 pregame show produced by Mark Arnold, directed by Duke Struck. The senior producer of CBS Sports is Ed Gorin. The executive producer of CBS Sports, Ted Shaker. One out in the Mets ninth. Vince Coleman is up. He's been on base 3 times today with a single and 2 walks. No stolen bases. Ball 1. This has been a busy game with numerous pitchers. A total of 7 pinch runners. Action all over the place, and our crew has done a wonderful job of staying up with the action. The Dodgers lead 4-2 in the ninth. And a foul out of play, 1-1. If the Dodgers win, they will be a half game ahead of Atlanta. Atlanta plays at home against Pittsburgh tonight. And if the Mets lose, they'll fall be 2 games behind the Pirates. Strike to Vince Coleman. Ball 2.
What a bizarre bottom of the 8th inning, the 4 unearned runs. And you remember the double switch that was made. Franco came into the game. Miller was inserted at second base. And to make things even more strange, Chris Donalds ends up hitting for Keith Miller to open the 9th inning.
Batting in the number 9 spot.
Yeah.
2-1 to Coleman. 3-1. It's amazing how many times Coleman is walked by these pitchers. Tim Belcher told us about that at the beginning of the game. He said he drives me crazy in the batter's box. You try to think of only throwing strikes to him and making him swing the bat and hit the ball, and you end up walking him. Well, Jay Howell might do the same and bring up a potential tying run. Game 2. Need a base runner desperately. Coleman stays up there.
Mentioned the National League Championship Series in 1988. Well, Jay Howell certainly remembers that. Harry Wendelstedt, the third base umpire here today, found pine tar in his glove, and Jay Howell was suspended for 1 day.
3-2, and through the hole, a base hit. Coleman's on base for the 4th time. 2 hits, 2 walks. That's the 10th New York hit.
Greg Jeffries.
And who's up with the opportunity to tie the game? Greg Jeffries, who booted the ball twice in the Dodger 8th. He's hit the ball hard all afternoon. Well, 3 times. And he has one base hit. Jeffries has no home runs this year. Coleman playing it cool at first. There's a strike.
Eddie Murray held Coleman on the first time, and then he looked into the dugout, and Tommy Lasorda told him to play behind him. Coleman's run is no good. The outfielders reminded to throw the ball to second base on a base hit to the outfield.
Play the batter. And see if Coleman steals the base. He will. There he goes. Pitch is low, and for Coleman, his 23rd stolen base if the official scorer gives it to him. The official scorer has an option. And if I were the official scorer, I would give it to him, and they do, so that's number 23 for Coleman. And it takes the double play out of order. And with Magadan on deck, that might be important. 4-2 Dodgers in the ninth. Ball 2 to Jeffries. Both bullpens quiet at the moment.
Really makes sense to guard the line at first base in a situation like this. And Eddie Murray is on the line. Dave Magadan on deck. Jeffries, a pull hitter, especially with Howell throwing all the breaking balls he's throwing.
Jeffries hits it hard, and playing on the line, Murray gets the second out. And Jeffries has hit the ball hard 4 times today and has only 1 hit. And that caps off a miserable afternoon for him.
And what does Jeffries get? He gets a curveball, and that's why Murray was on the line. It used to be that in the late innings, everybody would be on the line. Third baseman, first baseman, outfielders, everybody. But now, I think managers are more selective, and they consider the situation. Well, with Howell throwing all those breaking balls, Jeffries with a chance to get out in front of it and pull it. Eddie Murray makes a nice play, but he never would have fielded that ball had he not been on the line.
You called it, Tim. That ball was hard hit and a tough chance for Murray, who's been a Gold Glove first baseman in the past. Now the last hope for the Mets with a runner at third, Coleman, 2 out, is Magadan. Ball 1. Magadan's had a single and a double and 1 home run this year. There's Coleman. I won't pay much attention to him as the Mets trail by a couple. Strike call. A one-on-one battle between Jay Howell and Dave Magadan. 2 out here in the top of the 9th. 4-2 Dodgers with 4 in the 8th. On 2 walks, 3 errors, and 1 hit. Magadan hits it into center, and the Mets are still alive. It's a 4-3 game. Magadan drives in a run with his 3rd hit of the day. Coleman scores. 4-3 the score. Well, it was Hubie Brooks at the start, batting in the number 4 spot, but now it will be batting for the first time, Darrell Boston. So Boston is the man of the moment.
Well, Dave Magadan's not a fast runner, and you would think ordinarily you'd have a pinch runner in there in a situation like this. Mark Carrion, however, pinch hitter deluxe, but will he be? He's not the guy to pinch run because of that knee surgery he had. Keith Miller's out of the game. He's usually the pinch runner in this situation.
Boston hit 12 home runs a year ago. None this season. Tying run at first. There's a strike. So even a 1-1 with 2 out. Base hit by Coleman with 1 out. RBI single by Magadan with 2 out. Magadan carrying the tying run. Hitting room for Boston. Breaking ball. Puts the hitter in the hole. 1-2.
Good curveball here to Darrell Boston. Darrell, a good low ball hitter.
He's got to swing now if it's around the plate. Mets are down to their last strike. In the dirt, and the runner has to stay as Socha blocked the ball. That's important. May prove to be vital. 2-2.
Oh, this is a big pitch coming up. A fine play by Socha on the ball in the dirt to prevent Magadan from advancing. But if this pitch is a ball, you see Magadan on that fake break. But if this pitch is a ball, then Magadan would be compelled to run with 2 outs and 3-2 the count. Big pitch coming up.
It's 2-2. Tying run at first, 2 out. Another foul. Keeps Boston up there against Jay Howell. In the first inning, Hubie Brooks drove in a run. Kevin McReynolds hit his 3rd home run of the year in the 4th. The Mets squandered numerous opportunities, hit into 2 double plays, lost a man stealing, and up till now they have left 9. And the Dodgers scored 4 times in the 8th. Mets have countered with 1 here in the 9th. About hit the Dodgers 11-5. 2-2. And the third baseman Hamilton gets the force out, and the Dodgers win the game 4-3. Boy, what a tough giveaway for the Mets. What a tough giveaway for the Mets, who in this game leave 11. John Franco, the loser. Tim Cruz, the winner in the game. The Chevrolet player of the game is John Candelaria of the Dodgers. He came out of the bullpen and induced a key double play in the 7th inning, and Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in his behalf to the Special Olympics.
3 runs, 11 hits, 4 errors.
Well, we had a little bit of everything in this game, which the Dodgers won 4-3. And the winning run scored on this nasty play in the 8th.
This is the 3rd Met error of the 8th inning, with the bases loaded and 2 outs, a tie ball game at the time.
3 hours, 18 minutes.
Jeff Hamilton, the pinch hitter, hits one rather routine play. 2-run score, and the Dodgers win it 4-3.
That was the winner with Socha. Pat O'Brien coming up with scores of other games back in New York.
Against David Cone. Be sure to order your tickets for the next